Hey Lou,
Hey,
how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man.
All
How's it
right, all
going?
right.
All right.
Totally appreciate you coming through today. Definitely want to jump into some things. I actually looked up your a lot of information on you, and it looks like you're an actor, you're a
hmm
producer, a writer, and obviously the host of Lou Reviews and formerly UCR Unidentified Celebrity Review. I wanted to just start off talking about you and what I guess let's start with your acting. So
Yeah.
what actually got you into acting? How did you start? And we'll go from there.
I got into acting. I was playing football in high school. In high school, I loved some of my favorite things on TV at the time were the Kids in the Hall, the Upright Citizens Brigade. I watched a lot of Comedy Central, SNL reruns, and stuff like that. And I was also in our high school had a TV production course as well. So I also hosted the high school sports segment on our internal student television program. It was like a weekly news show for the school. So I guess technically that would have been the first time I was sort of in front of the camera acting, but it was a teacher of mine, Miss Moyna, who actually had approached me in my senior year to host the senior variety show, which is just an end of the year, basically sketch show that the students put on. Um, and so she asked me to host that, and I had never done anything like that before, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. I I I was very sort of nervous about it and hesitant because I didn't think I was an actor. I was more editing and directing and stuff like that. But yeah, so that was like my first sort of taste of it after I got out of high school. I went and studied improv comedy at a little theater called Just the Funny in Miami, Florida. They had a little Craigslist posting that were said it was looking for improvisers. It kind of started. It was like, have you seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? Do you think you could do that too? So yeah, I went to the audition, got into the troupe, helped organize the first Miami Improv Festival in Miami. And then after I saw some really great improv groups from Chicago, New York City, from Montreal, and from Los Angeles, that's when I decided, oh shit, yeah, I want to do this. I want to pursue this sort of comedic acting career. So I moved to New York City, studied at the Upright Citizens Brigade for a year or two, also studied mostly with a group called Face Off Unlimited, who's got a really great show in the Lower East Side. And then after living in New York for about 7 years, I moved out to Los Angeles in 2010, and have just been sort of doing the working actor thing. Get a couple roles a year, and yeah, that's how I got started.
Yeah, so improv, I tried my foot in acting in high
Mhm.
school, and we the improv for me was the hardest thing to do. I mean, because you have to imagine that these set pieces are there, and you have to
Mhm.
act and make it believable. So I gave my shot at it. I wasn't really that good,
Well,
but
what's
I.
funny is you're improvising right now,
Oh, really?
technically. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in this conversation. We're kind of just
Oh,
feeling each other out. So if you approach scenes more like that, I think that's sort of a trick that I do anyway. It's like, well, shit. Every time you have a conversation, you're technically improvising. Like you're
mm,
thinking on the spot. Your words are coming out of your mouth. You don't, you know, they come out as you think of them. And it's the same thing on stage. So anytime I teach a class, that's anytime I get something like that, that's usually what I tell them is, hey, you do it all the time. You do it all the time. You're not realizing it.
yeah, and I think probably my nerves get the best of me is what it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I watched some of your improv. You're actually a really good comedic actor. I mean,
Yeah, thanks, man.
I know that I'm a fan of UCR first of all. So I from the show I know that you are an actor, but I hadn't seen anything. And there was I heard a comment one time where I think you may have mentioned it on your show where somebody had stated to you that you're a failed actor or something.
Mhm.
So I went ahead and I watched your material and I'm like, no, this guy is actually good. This guy is
Yeah.
actually real good.
Yeah. I mean, I love self-deprecating humor. So it's like I like making fun of myself before somebody else does. I guess that's, I've always been I was a chubby kid, right? So that was like self defense mechanism in a way. Um but yeah, I mean, when I say I'm a failed actor, I'm being facetious. I'm not being serious. I'm just kind of making fun of myself because I try not to take myself too seriously. I'm just a guy out here in LA just chasing a dream. And that doesn't make me any better than anyone. But when people call me a failed actor, it's really funny because when you go to my IMDb, I've got over almost 30 credits. I've been on many network television shows. I've done a few commercials. I've been a
Yeah.
lot more successful than 95% of the actors that come out here. So I'm good with where I'm at.
And that's how I felt when I looked at your resume. I expected to
Mm.
see a couple things just based off what I knew.
Yeah.
No, you have a really long resume, a lot of great shows that you featured in. Not to mention you shared the screen, even though briefly, but you were on the screen with Tom Hanks,
Yeah.
Julia Roberts,
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Three power players right
Yeah,
there.
that's funny,
So
man. That's funny you saw that.
yeah.
It's weird. I didn't get a credit for that film, and I thought I was gonna get it. Like, I did get a credit. I got my SAG card because of that film. It was the very first movie I booked when I moved to LA. It's a really good story, but I've told it a few times, but basically I moved to LA. I was super poor. I bought a scooter. And again, Craigslist. Like Craigslist is the thing. It's so funny, dude. But yeah, so Tom Hanks was looking for a scooter gang. So I fucking drove out there, and next thing I know, I'm in an audition room reading lines. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting phone calls from agents saying, "Hey, Tom Hanks wants you in his movie." I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. So yeah, it was they originally were gonna give me that movie was really a couple of weird things happened on that movie. The first thing is they offered me the part that Rami Malek played. Rami Malek was also in that film. I got that part, and then 2 minutes later they called me back. They're like, "Sorry, another actor became available." The actor was Rami Malek, and he had just done a film he just done The Pacific with Tom Hanks on HBO. So that's who Tom really wanted for the part. And then I was the very next person they wanted for the part. So they gave me the part originally, and then he literally it was like 5 minutes that happened. It was insane. It happened so fast. But what I was told was like, hey, you still get to be in the movie. You still get to be directed by Tom Hanks. You're going to be on set with him. And I was like, fuck, this is a great opportunity to learn from the best in the business. So yeah, I was in awe for about almost 2 months of shooting that film. And I got to be in a scooter gang, and I got to be on the movie poster, which was really cool. Yeah, it was the moment that I realized, oh, I could do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm good enough. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that
who
kind of
was
kicked off everything.
who was the actor that played the girl's boyfriend? He's from That 70s Show. I forgot his name.
Wilmer Valderrama.
Okay, yeah. Had
Yeah.
a lot of good people in there. It was a good movie too. I'd actually never heard of the movie until
Yeah,
I heard
it
you
was
mention
okay.
it.
It was
It's called
okay.
Larry Crown. It's actually
Larry Crown.
pretty good.
It was
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it was all right. It was all right.
Now,
Yeah. I mean, Tom directed it. It was the second film that he directed, the first being That Thing You Do. So it's,
okay.
like that movie's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, I
So
love it.
yeah, it was his follow-up film, but yeah, it was written by Nia Vardalos, who wrote My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Yeah, it was a really cool, awesome, wonderful, awesome set. And Tom Hanks is as sweet as you could possibly think he is. You know, they say never meet your heroes. Tom Hanks was one I met, and I was like, this guy is awesome. So, you know, he was never an asshole to us. He was always so damn nice and gracious with his time, and even called me in for a favor. They were like, holy shit, we need scooter people in this scene. I wasn't even supposed to be there that day. And he called me and was like, hey, can you do me a favor and come to Paramount? I'm like, yeah. Yeah,
Of course.
yes, of course. Let me grab my shit. I'll be there in 15 minutes. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. That's cool that you saw that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as far as directing credits, now I'll tell you, I did also see a movie that you were in that was also very good, which was Taco Shop.
Yeah,
Taco Shop. That was free. It was to me, and I'm not saying this because you're here on the show.
Yeah.
It was on the level of a Friday or anything else. So I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, well, it was that movie was really, that movie took 7 years to come out. 7 years. It was supposed to be, I thought that was going to be the movie that sort of launched my career. And it didn't come out as good as I wanted it to. I thought I did as good as I could do with what I had. I didn't edit it. I didn't direct it. I didn't, produce it. I had nothing to do with that stuff, but the vibe on set was really fun. We thought it was going to be a really funny movie. There was some really great moments. There's some really big, like Felipe Esparza is in that film. He's an insanely big comedian now. And
who's the guy who played the cook? He's really well known.
Oh, Eric Roberts. Yeah,
Eric Roberts.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember his name.
That was an interesting day. I got a lot of stories about that whole experience. Just
I mean,
bonkers.
It really didn't miss though. You know, I have been a part of independent films as I'm a musician by trade. And the record label that I was with produced a film, and so I was a part of that. But it was, kind of low budget. But this was actually on the level of a Friday. So if you wouldn't mind, because I want people out there know you're an actor, but I want them to actually see a clip, and I actually have the trailer of Taco Shop. So let's go ahead and run that.
Okay, let's run the clip.
Get up. Time to go to work.
What are you doing?
Woke up this morning out of camp.
Check this out. Watch this, guys.
What are you gonna do?
No, watch. No, watch. This is gonna be funny. This is gonna be good.
Hey. Hi. Hey.
Let's see what you can cook up.
Really like my sumita?
I really love your meat.
It's like a food gas in my mouth.
That smells good. New recipe?
No, it's our competition. Change your uniforms and go spy.
Hi, welcome to Taco Gondo.
You have any lengua?
I think Taco Dollar just declared war.
I like war.
In this environment, you have to crush the competition. And our competition is right across the street. Chemical warfare, my amigos.
We're gonna need weapons. Say hello to my little friend.
Hello.
What? We're gonna smoke that mother out. Everyone's got munchies, man. Die, rat! Were those gunshots?
No.
The health inspector is here. Old school, keep him entertained. Mac, you catch that damn rat.
Did he say rat?
Come on, let's go. Number 34, your order's ready?
What's up, Bessie? I wrote my phone number on the bottom of that teddy bear's ass.
Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah. Awesome clip. You guys go see the movie. You can actually catch it on on Freevee right now. Totally free. You just have to deal with commercials. But it's a freaking awesome movie. I watched it with my girl. We sat down and watched it. She enjoyed it just as much as I did. And it's like, man, more people need to know that this is what you do. I mean, you do more than what you've done here in ufology and with UCR. You're pretty accomplished there, man.
Yeah, UCR is a very small part of my life.
Yeah, man. Awesome. So another thing, what I couldn't get any playable clips, you had done something called Booze Lightyear.
Yeah, with Ray William Johnson.
Yeah, so talk about that. I mean, it's a little vulgar on some of the stuff, but it's freaking funny.
Yeah. Ray William Johnson was basically like the first YouTuber. He was like the first channel with 7 million subscribers or whatever he's got. And he had a writer who wrote for me in the 2014 CBS Diversity Showcase, which is like a 4-month acting intensive at CBS, where you're writing and performing a show for CBS executives and a whole bunch of people. And it's very high, especially at the time. It was super high pressure, no pay. It was insane. But one of the writers from that program started writing for Ray William Johnson after. Her name's Kelly Landry. She actually had a show on the channel too for a little bit. And so she brought me in. She's like, hey, Ray wants to do this sketch show called Booze Lightyear. She's like, would you be interested? I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So we did Booze Lightyear. I think we did like, I don't know, 60 something episodes or something like that on YouTube. And it was pretty popular. It was a good time. I had a blast, but I met one of my really good friends on set. His name's Carlos Santos, and Carlos is like, he's blowing up. He's about to have a really, really big moment real soon. I mean, he's got a TV show coming out this year written by Michael Schur, who wrote The Office. And so that was a fun little moment for me, because I got to do a lot of fun sketch comedy with a lot of really funny, talented people, and made some great connections. So yeah, that was really cool. And yeah, Ray William Johnson was just kind of like, gave us every opportunity to have as much fun as we possibly could with the ideas that he was bringing to the table. So yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it. Once again, I'm looking, it's hard to make me laugh. You know what I mean? So so to say that I laughed and enjoyed it is means you're funny. I mean, you're really a funny actor. So I want people to know that, because I just from what I've seen from you just as a fan watching back, I would have never known all of that stuff. You don't seem to talk about it a lot on your shows.
Well, the show wasn't really about that. And I mean, you ever heard the expression, act like you've been there before? Like when I got my first big role, or my first like that Tom Hanks gig, I would post about it everywhere. I'd talk about it everywhere. But hey, look at me. I don't really like, I don't need to do that anymore, So like, I don't need to. I mean, I'm an actor, which is all about me. I love the attention. I love doing live comedy in front of an audience. Like, that is one of my favorite things to do, especially right now with the sketch group that I'm in. So yeah,
that Gin Belly, right?
Well, Gin Belly is my improv group, and Love Seat is our sketch group at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, which is probably the most prestigious comedy theater in LA. And yeah, we're doing sold out shows once a month there. So it's, it's been a real passion project for the last 5 months, and we got our sixth and final show of this run coming up next month, and then we're going to see if we get renewed or if we get put on another team or whatever. But yeah, it's been really awesome, really, really great.
Well, I got to come out and see you because I'm right up here in Bakersfield. So just
anytime, man.
Yeah, stone's throw away. I'm definitely going to come and check you out for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So with the Gym Belly, though, with the improv, I saw you mention that on one of your previous shows on Lou Reviews. And what's going on with that? Are you still working with that?
Oh yeah, we're just an independent improv group. You know, we just kind of like anytime a gig comes up and somebody wants us to do a show, we're there. You know, but yeah, it's me, my buddy Carlos Santos, who I mentioned earlier, my other friend Vince Yap. Me and Vince Yap started the group, and then another friend, John Darden, and we're just a 4-man improv group. You know, we don't have a regular monthly gig anywhere. We just kind of love performing together, and anytime somebody asks us to do a show, we do a show. So, you know, I'd say we do a show once every other month on average. You know, some months we'll do 3 or 4 shows. Some months we won't do any shows. So it just depends, you know, what's going on at the time. But yeah, it's just a passion project. It's just, you know, hanging out with buddies, basically, you know, trying to make each other laugh. That's all we're doing.
Well, being that you said that I'm actually improving right now as we do this, then make sure if you open up a spot on that, man, you know, at least let me do an audition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll let you know. I mean, we've never thought of ever bringing anybody else in. No one's even never asked us. That's interesting. I'll keep you in mind, Rob. I'll keep you in mind.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, Bakersfield's going to be a hell of a run for shows, you know. So can you make that commitment? You know, that's a long drive.
Hey, I'm out there all the time. Actually, my stepdaughter goes to UCLA, so we're always out there. So
cool.
Definitely.
Cool.
So okay. Well, like I said, just like you said, you know, been there sort of attitude, so you don't really bring these things up. But that's why I wanted to make sure I brought it up, because I think people should know about it. You know, there's a lot of obvious opinions about you out there, and I want people to know Lou. Oh, the real Lou is Lou. You know what I mean?
Man. I appreciate
no problem at all.
Taking the time. I you know what's fun, you know, my first like 3 or 4 episodes, I told all of those stories. I told everybody who I was, what I do, where I live, because I never wanted anybody to turn around and be like, "Oh, you work for the government," or you're a liar. It's just like, no, here's my career, here's my IMDb resume. Like, I just didn't want anybody to use that against me. So that's why I put it out there at the top. But once it was out there, I was like, okay, it's out there. People want to find it. They could go to the beginning and watch it. But you know, to bring it up every show would be weird.
For sure.
Weird. So that's you know, and again, like, it's just like, you know, there's also like, I want to be somewhat private.
You
know, but
so anybody just pull up on you. Yeah, I understand that. Well, let me kind of get into some other things then. So just kind of jumping into ufology, UFOs. I understand that you had a sighting when you were young. Are you willing to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, if you want to.
Sure. Yeah. Just what happened? I mean, you were pretty young.
Well, I guess let me just preface my story with this. It's not proof of anything. And it's also, you know, I don't put it on the table as proof, so I always expect or ask people to respect that in return. You know, like, if you've got a story, of like, there's no one's, in my opinion, brought bulletproof evidence to the table yet. So, you know, I'm very careful with this story, because especially after my experience over the last, you know, 6-7 months, and just kind of really stepping back and just putting some real perspective and clear thinking on this story. But the way I remember it is it was a birthday party. I was 13 years old. It was a birthday party of someone I didn't know. My best friend invited me. I went with him. and around 8, 9, 8, I say 8:30, we noticed that there was this girl, where I lived. There were the houses, there were neighborhoods that lived on houses with 2-3 acres worth of property. So she was literally standing in a field just looking up, and we're like, oh, that's kind of weird. So we walked over, we're like, hey, what are you looking at? And she's like, hey, I'm looking at this thing in the sky. And so we look up, and it's like a green ball, and it's really weird. And I'm looking at it, I was like, man, that's strange. And I kind of just started going like through my mind, okay, it's not a helicopter, it's not an airplane, it's not a jet, it's not. And I've seen these things even as a 13-year-old. I used to go to the air show every year with my parents, so I was very familiar with aircraft. Not, I wasn't an expert at 13, but it just didn't look like anything I'd seen. And I was like, well, blimp, and it did kind of look like a blimp, and I was waiting for it to turn so I could see like the Goodyear or something on it, or some sort of writing, because the Miami Dolphin Stadium was only 10 or 15 miles away from where we were. So seeing a blimp wasn't something
unusual. Yeah.
And so my memory of it is like it was bigger, and when it got bigger, it looked like a blimp, and I was just waiting for it to turn, and it never turned. And then the next thing I remember, it's hovering above the field, and it's about the size of 2 buses stacked on top of one another. It looks, the way I remember it is, it looked very similar to the Gulf Breeze UFO. If you've ever seen pictures of that story, turned out that story is probably not true. But it did remind me of that craft, in that it had a bigger bowl on the bottom and a smaller bowl on the top. That kind of like if you take 2 bowls and you meet them at the lips, that's kind of what it looked like a lemon. Somebody said a lemon. I'm like, that's exactly what it looked like. Kind of like a lemon, but it had hard edges. And I was fucking shocked. Like, it was crazy. It was really, really weird. And the thing I remember is all of the adults at the party started coming over, and they were also confused by what they were seeing. So those are the things I remember. And then I wanted to get a better look at it, and so I started running toward it. And the craft was over literally a cow field. Like it was a cow field, and that field had a dirt road, and then that dirt road had a bunch of pine trees that lined it. And so as you're running toward the field, the whatever it was going behind the trees. So it's like I was running closer to it, and the trees were going in front of it like this. And then by the 3rd or 4th tree, I was expecting it to come out the other side, and it was gone. And that's what I remember. With that said, it's a 30-year-old memory.
Okay.
30-year-old memory.
And so I was going to ask you, UFO Blueprint said what year ballpark is, but
93. It was 1993. It was, I believe, April or June of 1993. And I say that because we had just moved into, my mom and my stepdad had just gotten married. So they had bought a new house. And so we had just moved into that new house. And it was also the same year that the Florida Marlins franchise had begun. The exact same, that summer. That. It was that summer. So that's the summer it happened. I've looked, there's a really great database. I've looked in the database for that time period of anything weird. I can't remember I've got it somewhere bookmarked, but it's a really cool database. But after really thinking about it and really sort of sitting on it and kind of just contemplating the statistical mathematical odds of it, what is mathematically more likely for that thing that I saw to be? Alien visitors, flying a craft, or a plasma ball? Which is a very real thing, and that's a very real phenomenon. I'm going to lean toward plasma ball because statistically it's more likely to be that. And I also can't rely on a 30-year-old memory. It's you have to understand the way the human mind works is every time you remember something, you're not accessing the memory. Your brain is accessing the last time you remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy that goes on for 30 years. Because every day I think about it at least once.
And it might
so
change
30
a little
years.
bit.
Not might. It definitely changed.
Yeah.
It definitely changed. So that's my fear with expressing that. It's not that I don't think it didn't happen. It's not that I don't think what I saw was unusual or weird, because it was. But to say, well, that's alien, I'm not going to take that leap. I'm not going to take that step because I don't know. I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair, because let me tell you, my sighting, I thought about this the other day. Just so happened I had been in tune with shows that like Thomas Fessler's show, Tom King, to be exact, had mentioned some recommendations on best ways to catch, if you were to catch something, this is what you should do. So I was actually sort of prepared for my sighting, but I know for a fact, and I thought about this, that if I didn't catch it on video 5 months ago is when I took it, my memory would also be a little suspect. I talked to my girl because she was there with me at the sighting, and I said that same thing to her. I said, if I didn't catch that on film, I don't know that I would remember the details exactly. And so
you wouldn't.
And I feel that way.
That's 100% for sure. You wouldn't. There's an interesting experiment that a professor at the University of Delaware did. The day 9/11 happened, the next day when they had class, or it wasn't obviously the next day, but whenever this classes started again, he had his entire class write exactly where they were, what was going on, and what happened. I think it was a law class, if I'm not mistaken. And so all of the students did that. And then 4 years later, when they're about to graduate, the professor gives them the exact same task. Tell me exactly where you were and what happened. 98% of the stories, 100% of the stories were different. All of them were different. And 98% of them were really different. And then you had like 2% where they were like pretty close. It's just that's why we don't rely on eyewitness testimony in courts. Thank God, because if we did, we'd still be hanging witches,
right?
And burning people at the stake because you think they're a demon. So that's why I've really sort of become wary of stories. Even stories that in some cases come with video, because video, it's like, I'm sorry, but this is not designed to film a high altitude object at God knows how many miles away, no matter what kind of zoom it has on it. You're just not going to get a high resolution enough to get any sort of dimension or detail out of those things that you're filming. So to hold it up as like proof, I would say just be careful. Be careful doing that, because I think most, if not all of those videos that I've seen, and I saw the presentation you gave me, all of them could be explained. All of them. So, and that's not fun. That's
no,
like,
and
that's not,
I want to get into
the sexy answer, but it's just, I want to add a lot more rationality to this discussion.
And that's why I wanted you to watch
it's in a crazy space. Like, we're in a crazy space because the name of the show is The State of Ufology, United or Divided.
Right.
It's crazy. Like, it's crazy that we're taking the president of the United States and the Secretary of Defense and the press secretary and all of these people and lawmakers were making clips of things they're saying and inferring that they're talking about UFOs, that the mystery they really mean is UFOs, and it's not. It's not. It's just not. And you're not watching the entire clip of what that senator has to say, or that lawmaker, or the president. Right. You're taking snippets and you're posting them online and saying, "Oh, he's, they're almost there. Disclosure's about to happen." No, or he's a liar. It's.
See, I think that's the issue, is that I think when we allow. When we depend on the government to give us the answer, or whatever information comes through them, it's never going to be, even if they're telling partly the truth, they'll never give the full truth. Now, what I want to do real quick is just for anybody in the audience that hadn't seen my sighting, because we're going to end up talking about that. I'm just going to run it. It's a few minutes here. So let me bring that in. And okay. All right, I'll play it from right about here. Out in your mind that UAP are real, and in this case, blatantly showing themselves in broad daylight over populated city, which could be considered some sort of tactical formation. Now kick back, put your feet up, as I prove to you that UFOs are in our skies and more brazen than ever before. Now I'll kind of narrate for you guys, for the audience out there. Obviously, this is the gimbal, and I feel like my objects may have been this, and I guess you'll see here in a moment.
That's not how it is, is it? That's not how I don't understand. Well, if there's anything, it's rotating.
Okay, here goes my sighting.
Really?
47 objects in the sky, and I saw these with the naked eye. They were round, and they have this black pipe thing sticking out of the bottom. Doesn't really translate on video, but they were round with a black pipe thing sticking out the bottom. And you'll see a closer picture here in a moment. No, they ain't birds. No, they're not. Dude, those are not birds. Clear blue sky, no obstruction of view. Sun at high noon. Where they go? At this point, they've disappeared. Can't see.
They're birds. They're birds.
Okay. All right, Kiara. Where? Where? Exactly. If they're birds, where they go, Kiari?
I don't know what that was.
Kiari, if those are birds, where did they just go? Birds do not disappear in the thin air. Nah, ain't no maybe. You would still see them, dude.
The thing that was crazy was when I had first seen them, they were shining.
Shining?
It was like, that's what caught my eye. It was like, they were shining. And then they disappeared. And then
Everyone there agreed they disappeared. This is what they look like zoomed in. So these black objects sticking out the bottom. I couldn't see the one sticking out the top, only the bottom, but they were round for sure. No wings, no flapping. Someone had a similar sighting in Oakland, California. This is what they filmed.
Kind of weird. They don't even look right, huh? Damn, they look hella weird. I don't see no wings flapping, man.
Just as I didn't see wings in mines, but definitely the same objects. I checked Newport. One day after my sighting, this showed up in Aurora, Colorado. The exact same objects. One day later. This is where I posted on Twitter. Mick West replied. Obviously, he says birds. That's his go-to answer. Then explain this. Once again, another sighting. Still no wings flapping is what this person said. Same objects. This is a description I put on the YouTube video, raw video, which is on my page. And I copied and pasted that information to MUFON. So now they're looking at it. Okay, this is my sighting one last time. Now I'm in California, wide open skies, flatlands. There's no way these objects could have just disappeared, nothing to obstruct the view. So that rules out birds or balloons or drones. Okay. Where? Exactly. They're birds when they go, Kiari. All right, well, it should be getting close to the end here.
Kiari, those are birds. Where did they just go? Nah, ain't no maybe. Dude, you still see them, dude?
Okay, so and I put it together that way because I wanted to show comparatives to what it was that I saw. So I don't know, Lou. I mean, they disappeared into thin air. I mean, what? So let me ask you this. So if just say, devil's advocate, just say that was government tech that I filmed there. For sure wasn't birds, guaranteed. Wasn't balloons, guaranteed. So
how can you guarantee? Wait, hold on, wait.
Sure.
How can you guarantee that?
I can guarantee it because they didn't have wings. Birds
Balloons
have
don't have
wings.
wings.
No, not a
Balloons have
balloon.
wings. Chinese lanterns have wings. Drones
So,
don't have wings.
so do they disappear into thin air? Do they disappear into thin air?
If
That happens
something
by the
if something is really high in the altitude, depending on the time of day and what's going on in the
high
atmosphere,
noon.
depending on what's going on and how high those things are. The problem is you don't know how high those things are. I live in California too, and I know that the California atmosphere can be very strange, and it's always very clear. It's always very whatever, but there's also a lot of shit in the air. And depending on the angle, depending on the reflection, yeah, they could disappear. If they lose the reflection of the sun, they could look like they disappeared because they're so high up, you can't see them when the reflection of the sun is no longer there. So
Okay.
yeah, I think that is an optical illusion that could very easily happen.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. This is what I found today. This is just actually going to take you back here. So at the 14-second mark of my video, this actually happens. So I can't really zoom in, but if you look, that's the formation there in the middle.
Mhm.
Look to the far left. See that guy sticking on the side?
Mhm.
So the whole slide, I'm going to go through 10 slides. This happens in 1 second of the video. 1 second, maybe less. So
Mhm.
watch this. Here we go.
How do we know this is 1 second?
Because I can bring it back on the videos between the 14 and 15-second mark. The raw video is up on my page, so it's open for anyone.
How do you know that? How do you know that object that's moving faster isn't closer to you? Because it sure does appear to be bigger.
So it appears to get bigger, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it appears to fly right through the
See,
formation.
here's the problem with this video, Rob. I'm not saying you're
Yeah.
wrong.
No.
But there's no background. There's nothing that you can. It's just blue sky, and what looks to me like your kid and your girl was like, those are birds.
No,
That's where their first
the
reaction
kid
was,
said
it's
that.
birds.
But the
And
kid
your
wears
girl said it too.
glasses.
Your girl said it too. She said it was birds too. That was her first reaction.
Let me
That
tell
was her
you the
first
story.
reaction.
Let me tell you the story, Luke. So this is how it went. So I was in the house. She was outside already. She actually is the one who saw these. So when we first saw them, we saw them off in the distance. They were in a cluster, and they were actually swarming each other like this. They were swarming each other. So I told her, I said, no, those are birds. She was like, no, I don't think so, because I could see something shining off. So I run in the house, grab my phone. By the time I come out, they're in the formation that you see there.
Yeah.
So the kid, just so you know, wears glasses. Thick glasses, and he did not have them on. So we can't really go off of what he said.
That's fair. Let's take the kid out of it. Here's the thing, right? Is we've seen this pattern in nature.
Right.
Like I literally put in bird formations and it came up with the exact same things that I'm looking at here.
I'm glad you brought that up.
So why are we making the leap to these are definitely not balloons, these are definitely not drones, these are definitely not birds, and putting definites on things that we can't tell by this video? And just because you don't see flapping doesn't mean that there's not flapping happening. Again, I have no clue how far away these objects are. How far away are these objects? Do you know an exact distance?
I would, if I had to judge, because I saw it with my naked eye. So
you're guessing.
The camera is giving you, if you've ever seen on an automobile, the objects in the mirror closer than they appear. So that's the effect that you're getting with this camera here. So they look like they're far up, but they really aren't. We were able to see these with our naked eye, crystal clear. I could see these. They floated right over our heads, and they were round, and they had black. Each one of them had a black pipe thing sticking out the bottom, which doesn't translate in the video. And so me and my girl,
I would say, because this I've actually got video of this on my phone. This happened a week and a half ago. a whole bunch of, and this is the first time I'd ever seen it, a whole bunch of those what do they call those things? Like those prayer balloons with the candles. Why am I forgetting the names of these things? But they were, I walked out of my house and there was 15 or 20 of them floating over the house. And and this was like the same day that they shot down the big balloon. And I'm like, holy shit, there's more drones in the sky. There's more spy balloons or whatever. And I sat there and I looked at them and I was genuinely confused by these things for a good 15 seconds. And then I was like, okay, I see exactly what it is now. Once you get your eyes on it, it was like you could see the black bottom of it. You could see the Chinese lanterns. That's what they are. And look, again, I preface my story with, right? Like to me, this isn't proof. Like you said at the beginning of your video, I have 100% proof. This isn't 100% proof. And I think that's, for me, I have to set the bar a lot higher than that. I just do. And I hope that doesn't offend you. I'm not trying to offend you.
No, because I put it out there for the skeptics anyways. I put it out there. That's why Mick West got involved. Because I asked him to take a look at it because I wanted a skeptic's opinion on it. But the thing
but do you want a skeptic's opinion on it, Rob?
No, I do. Really? I definitely do. Because
what was his answer? The middle of the road. What was his answer on it then?
His answer was, I believe he said, most likely birds, seagulls.
And you did what with that explanation?
Well, here's the thing. I know what seagulls look like. I live in California. So
I get it.
We see birds all the time. So you know a bird from something that isn't a bird. So the gentleman in the video, that's why I put it together in like a montage like that, because the sighting in Oakland, California, same exact objects, no flapping wings.
Yeah. I would only say to you, Rob, I would back off the claim that it's 100% proof, and I would back off this idea that it's definitively not this, or this. You can't definitively rule those out. You can't.
Well, you can't. I can agree that you can't, maybe through video, but to be there in person.
I get that. But again, I preface this with, I'm going to give you my experience. I'm going to put it on the table, but this ain't proof. This is not proof. And I'm asking you to do the same for me. And that's hard to do.
Sure.
That's hard to do. To take your personal belief and experience out of it is very difficult. And we have to just, it's weird. There's fucking 48 things in the sky and they're moving in one direction. Doesn't look like they're flapping. They're shining and now they're gone. Does not mean they're alien, and does not mean they're not balloons, does not mean they're not drones, does not mean they're not Chinese spy craft. And I think the biggest thing that the community is missing right now, that they're just overlooking it and it's smacking everyone right in the face. This spy drone balloon issue has been going on for at least 15 years. We've had a very real problem. And since 2017, the government has been trying to play catch up to reverse policies and procedures so they can get their guys and their personnel to report these weird looking things, because our enemies know that if it looks weird, they're not going to say a fucking thing. They're not going to say anything. So make it look weird on purpose. And that's what they're doing. They make these drones and these balloons and these things look as weird as humanly possible. So you get one of two reactions. A, oh my God, it's aliens. What is that? Or B, I'm not reporting that. That's too weird to report.
Now, To be
this
fair,
is a security issue. This is not a disclosure issue.
Yeah,
the president
I agree.
talking, the secretary, the press, like none of this is about aliens and non-human entities coming to visit and flying around with impunity in our atmosphere. This is an air safety issue. This is a terror threat issue more than anything, because now when I say, yeah, those could be drones, you've seen them at the Olympics, drone swarm technology, where hundreds and hundreds of drones come together to create somebody running through the sky or whatever they want.
Exactly right.
Now imagine that tech strapped with anthrax flying over Santa Monica Pier.
Right. No, it's a
That's
danger.
what this is about.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that should be focused on as far as that goes, that aspect of it. The Chinese balloon for sure is a drone. It's a balloon. Now, let me ask you this though. So would you agree that now that we see what a Chinese spy drone looks like, and we're able to shoot it down, we're able to catch crystal clear image of it, would you agree that they can't be the same things that were swarming the Navy ships?
No.
And why would that be?
No, not at all. Because Tyler
Rogoway
wrote an excellent article about the things that are swarming our Navy ships. And it's really simple, man. You live here. Long Beach, California is the biggest shipping port, one of the biggest shipping ports on the planet.
Right.
Okay. It literally moves 75% of our GDP in and out of the country. There's a lot of Chinese boats that come into that port. And you could bet your ass that those drones, okay, do you think the Chinese government gives a shit about losing a $4,000 or $5,000 drone? They don't care. Okay. But you take a $5,000 drone and you attach $300,000 worth of listening and spy devices on it, and you make it look weird, and then you throw it over our aircraft carriers and submarines, and you try and gather as much information as you possibly can. And when that thing runs out of battery, or when it's done doing what it's doing, it cuts off and it drops in the ocean, and they're done. They don't have to get it back. They launch it from the boats that are coming in and out of our own shipping lanes. Like, this is what's
the proof on that
issue.
Though? I mean, I would think you would need some proof to make a statement like that, though. How do we know that that's
out of the sky, Rob?
I know that was a balloon,
right? But we just legislatively created an office to look at them. For the last 5 years, senators and congressmen and lawmakers have been telling us that these things are above our nuclear facilities. Why? And the answer is because if again, like, you think about this in a terrorist attack type of way, you again take a swarm of these drones and you put them around a nuclear device and you set off an EMP explosion. Now you've got a real infrastructure. Our infrastructure is our weakest, one of our weak spots in American defense systems, I guess. Our infrastructure is old, and they know that. And they know that it's vulnerable. So the last 5 years has been catching up lawmakers and now shooting things out of the sky. Now the American people know that it's there. The threat's there. They're not talking about it on the level that you and I are having the discussion, but you can bet your ass that in Congress and in those rooms, they're talking about imagine if that happened. Let's just say an anthrax attack with drones happened at Santa Monica Pier and 4,000 people die.
Right.
It's the biggest blunder in American history since 9/11.
Okay.
They're trying to avoid that. That's the biggest fear here. It's not non-human intelligence. It's the threat from our enemies. They're poking holes in our security system to see what's the weakest. And they're gathering and listening to our communications. They're watching how our ships move. The biggest exercise area or training area for the United States military is right off that coast. It's right off of those shipping lanes and those shipping ports. And to say that drones can't be in the sky for 4 days, you're wrong. They can. They can. That technology exists. That shit is real.
Okay. What I mean, okay. So, and I saw someone speak on this, and they made a good point to look at the older stuff, because drone technology did not exist 30, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Drone technology didn't exist. So how do you explain everything that happened before drones came to be? As far as spy balloons go, we've been spying, they've been spying since at least the 40s, from what they said, as far as the reasoning for changing the story on Roswell. So obviously not possible to have a drone in 1950, 60, 70, or 80. So how do you explain that off? That's good for today. That's a good explanation you gave.
I think you're inaccurate. The United States military has been flying drones for a long time, a lot longer than you think. I believe it even goes back as early as the 60s.
I'm talking about the UAVs.
Well, if you can fly a Boeing remote control, trust me when I tell you, they're going to start thinking smaller. Okay, like if the commercial drones did not hit the public until 2001. If anything that I've learned about government technology is that if it's hitting the market commercially, that means they've been playing with that toy for at least 15 or 20 years.
Okay.
So if it came in 2001, then that means it goes possibly back to 1981. That kind of tech, the ability to do those things. They might not be as high tech as the ones that we see today or perfected, but you could bet your ass that all of those growing pains and all of those engineering flaws have been worked through before it ever gets hit commercially. So to say that explanation rules out everything, no, that's inaccurate. To go back to the 40s, 50s, yes, that explanation goes out the window. But when I listen to World War II pilots talk about their Foo Fighter encounters, and when we hear about those things, yes, they're really interesting. But you know what else is really interesting? That's the first war that people got in planes and started bombing each other. It's the first time in humanity that humans spent a lot of time in a different atmosphere, that they were learning the rules as they were flying through it. So misinterpreting things, misseeing things, having phenomena. I had a pilot show me, and he had no clue what this was until he showed his other buddy pilots. But did you know that little tip, that sharp tip at the edge of a plane, or at the front of a plane? That's a discharge. Okay, because what happens sometimes when you fly is a blanket of like static I don't know how it works. Static electricity goes over the windshield of the pilots, and they design the rest of the plane so that the passengers don't see that. Okay, it's, if you saw that in 1945, you would think it was aliens, because you don't have the experience in that atmosphere yet to go, oh, that's what it is. So when I hear stories from like Robert Salas, when I hear stories from Bob Lazar, when I hear stories about Area 51 and all of these things, 9 times out of 10, it always starts with government. Okay. Roswell, Air Force, the whole story has literally come from the Air Force. If you don't trust the government, why do you trust the Roswell story?
So let me ask you this then, Lou. So you can't explain everything. There's not, I mean, you could obviously come up with something for everything that might sound logical or feasible, but it doesn't mean that that's the answer. So again,
that's why we need to study it. I'm all for studying it.
Yeah, I'm for putting all the information on the table, regardless if it's word of mouth, regardless if it's video evidence, and then sifting through it, and then just rationalizing, just using common sense in a lot of cases on what these things could be.
But Rob, the thing is if you're really using common sense and logic, it always leads to the same place. This is a great distraction for our military industrial complex to get people to not think, oh my God, that could be us. They want you to think it's aliens. They want you to think it's UFOs because we have some interesting toys. We developed some really cool shit. For example, okay, and everybody always talks about, oh, well, the reason they're not releasing this information is because of the oil companies. Our aircraft carriers and our submarines have nuclear engines in them where they don't have to refuel ever. Okay. We now have drones that have nuclear engines in them, which means they can stay in the atmosphere forever. They don't have to come down. That's the kind of tech that exists today.
That's fair.
That's world-changing stuff. That's right at our doorstep. And I think in 20, 30 years, you'll see that nuclear reactor powering cities. And we'll eventually get off the dependence of oil. But this idea that humans can't make really wonderful shit is absurd. Like, to me, it's more likely that we've figured something out from a physics standpoint and we're testing it.
Yeah, in some cases, I can agree with you though on some of that stuff. For sure, I'm right between you. Obviously, you're in the area, so I'm right between Vandenberg and Edwards. So, I mean, obviously, we know that there's things that haven't been released as far into the public that may be considered advanced. But we can't rule out every single sighting that happens and try to explain it away as government tech. We just can't do that because nothing's 100%. Just like you said, saying 100% on a 100% proof. Right. I haven't heard 100% proof from your end either, though.
Well, I don't need to provide the proof that aliens are visiting us. You do.
No. That aliens aren't visiting us. So that's the stance that you're taking. No, but you're standing on that side.
Have they showed them? Have they showed themselves?
Do they need?
Have they communicated with us?
If you have enough evidence to say there's things that may be in the atmosphere, then you could assume from that point if there's something in there. To be truthful, in my sighting, I don't think anything was in those objects. They weren't big enough for that. I think those were drones, and I wish I could have showed you. I just couldn't zoom in on it. But, I understand where you're coming from. You have to be a skeptic. You have to have some sort of skeptic in you. And I'm a person that walks down the middle. And you see, if you watch any of these other episodes, you can sway me either way with the evidence. I don't have enough evidence for me to write it off as just government tech.
But here's the thing, Rob. There's more evidence on the table that says this is not happening than there is evidence on the table that says it is.
Okay. So going back to your sighting.
Again, my sighting is not proof.
I know it's not proof.
That's not proof.
It's something, but it's something that happened. And then what would be the most logical explanation for what you saw?
A plasma ball. That's a logical explanation. That's
okay.
A logical
Can you
explanation.
Show me a plasma ball?
No, they're pretty rare in nature, but they do happen, and they've been documented by science.
Well, see, you see how it's like I don't know. Well, I can say this, but I don't really have all the proof. And then I can say this, but I don't really
because
have all
you're
the proof.
asking me to give you proof for my sighting, and I'm telling you, my sighting is not fucking proof. It's not proof, man.
I'm just wanting to know what would be the most logical explanation for what you saw. You said plasma ball. But why would you say plasma ball if they're so rare?
That's the only thing I can think of, but I do know that they happen. They happen. So they've been
ball
witnessed.
Lightning happens.
They've seen ball lightning. These are things. There's a man by the name of Ted Rowe who runs a website that is nothing but pilots that report unidentified things. NARCAT or I forget the acronym for it. It's slipping my brain. But there's a report on that website about a plasma ball showing up in a cabin and going down the just dancing down the middle of the fucking cabin of a commercial plane. So these things happen.
No, they do.
They're strange and they're weird, and we might not even have an explanation for why or when they show up. But you know what? For thousands of years, Rob, you know what we didn't understand? Earthquakes. For thousands of years, humans were like, it's the gods. They're angry with us.
Right.
And for years, let's just say the believers of the gods are angry with us would say, well, you can't prove it's not the gods. You can't prove it because you can't predict it. And you can't. An earthquake is hard to predict. But we know they happen all over the world. And scientists figured out a way to measure them and study them. And they're still unpredictable.
Right.
They're still mysterious. But that doesn't mean gods are moving underneath the planet. You know what I mean, dude? Like, we have to just, I more than anything in the world, I want this to be real. The Fermi paradox tells me it's a mathematical fact. But just because they're out there,
that's enough fact.
Does not mean they're coming here.
So, but that's the thing. If they're more,
put those together.
But what you can say, just like you stated, it's almost a fact that there's life out there.
For sure.
So how can you prove that they couldn't get here? Your knowledge is only based off of earthly science.
I'm not
what we understand here,
Rob. But you're misunderstanding me. I'm not here to prove that they're not here. I know they're not here because they haven't shown themselves. Nobody's gotten a piece of a craft. Nobody's dissected one of them. Nobody's seen it, put it in a lab. Like that's science. And I know that's not convenient, but that's science. Like, we have to scientifically study it.
What is science, though? Scientists change their minds all the time.
This is science. This is science. Vaccinations are science. Not having to deal with plagues, living with running water, like, that's science.
Scientists believed not too long ago that there weren't other galaxies out there.
Yeah, but
they believed, and they changed their mind. But science is an always ever-changing thing.
I think if you ask every scientist on the planet today, do you think there's life in the universe? Every single one of them, intelligent life, outside of this planet, in the cosmos, all of them are going to say yes. And then you follow up with, do you think they're coming here? The odds say no.
Okay.
The odds and the math say no. Doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yes.
It doesn't mean it's not happening. I'll give you that, but you have to prove it. We can't just say it.
So here's the thing.
We can't just say it and feel good about it. We have to prove it.
Lou, just like you said, okay, so I got you to admit that. Fermi paradox. They exist out there, and it could be possible that they come here. But then where's the proof? So that's when the sightings that everyone is trying to bring forward, this is the proof. But you can't knock that down and then say, yeah, they're out there, they could come here, but it's not, but we don't have proof that they're here.
Rob, we started this conversation with eyewitness testimony is not proof. If it was, we'd still be burning women at the stake for being witches. We cannot. It's a piece of the pie. It's a piece of eyewitness testimony is important. I'm not discrediting it, and I'm not saying it's not valid, but it's not proof. It's not evidence. And that's why I don't use my story, and I never have. Never once in the history of UCR did I ever use my experience and my story as a bar setting for proof or confirmation for anybody. And that's what I'm telling you is, could it be happening? Sure, absolutely. But we need to prove it. Okay. And as far as the political discussion is happening, the Lou Elizondo narrative and all of that stuff has nothing to do with that part. It has everything to do with a hole in our national security system. Everything, 100%, 0.0% of this is about alien.
And it's so strange to hear you talk this way, Lou. I mean, seriously.
I know.
Because
I know.
I watched you on your show for a very long time, and you talk the total opposite. So with that being said, those were your thoughts, your rationale, and your belief in what was going on. So I would have to ask, and I'm sure everybody would want to know, what made you change your mind? I mean, because it's almost like a Stephen Greenstreet. Greenstreet did a 180.
You want to know why?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, the exact same thing happened to me that happened to Stephen Greenstreet. He was on the inside. He was with Lou Elizondo. He was part of the team.
Okay.
And then he found out what they really were doing and why they were in it.
Could you elaborate on that part?
Yeah.
Though?
Again, like these guys are here to tell the people and also lawmakers about this very real security problem. I think they're telling the truth 100% about this being a safety issue for not only the American people, but for the American security apparatus. Okay. And that's the thing they led with. That's the very first thing that they're like, this is a problem. And they would sexy it up with, it could be alien. Who knows? Pilots have seen weird things. Look at these videos. And after 5 years, these videos, there's missing data in those 3 videos, the gimbal, the go fast, and the tic tac. We need more data. We need the cockpit recordings from the other 2 planes. There's still at least 2 more pilots that we have not heard from. And there's a lot of data that the American people should get on that to 100% definitively either rule out or confirm that what's on those tapes is non-human. Because as far as I can see, none of the 5 observables are in those tapes. Not one. Not one. Okay?
I think the 5 observables are overrated, actually.
I agree. Okay?
I don't think that they necessarily have to show one of the 5 observables.
Stephen Greenstreet was in that circle and found out that they were there to make money. It was a grift. It was a grift. And when we asked him on our show about his sock puppet accounts, and he confirmed essentially for us that, yeah, he has sock puppet accounts, and yeah, he threatens journalists through those sock puppet accounts, and yeah, he causes a lot of issues with the words and the phrases that he uses in those sock puppet accounts to stir up bullshit. And when I learned that, it completely eroded everything I thought about not only him, but the entire narrative that he's been spewing.
Okay, fair.
So when somebody like that leaks your messages on Twitter for one of his little dogs to go attack me with, that's when I see this, I go, oh, okay, this has never been about UFO transparency. This has never been about talking or communicating with alien intelligence or letting the people know the truth because they can handle it. This has been a security issue, and they used the UFO thing to get people excited to bring attention to it. And now they've used us. They got the office they wanted. They got the legislation they wanted. And now they're talking about it on Capitol Hill. You had a fucking a statement from the president of the United States. They got everything they wanted, but not one of them, not one of those lawmakers said that this is alien or coming from another planet. Not one, because they all know exactly what it is. But they're not allowed to tell us because it's classified, because it's some scary shit.
Scary shit.
Aliens.
Okay.
It's not aliens, okay?
So
9/11 everywhere, okay? Like terrorist attacks, stealing our information.
Here's my
shutting
view.
down our internet.
Here's my view of what I think. This is from the outside looking in, watching what happened, because I was watching before the all the stuff kicked off, and so this is, and just tell me if this is far off. So what I saw was a show, UCR, that was promoting the progression of humanity by galvanizing a movement, Big Phone Home, for example. Mm-hmm. You were able to galvanize a group of people and get them to do a task for the betterment of humanity. Okay. The government as far as disclosure goes, we're going to assume alien in this conversation, in this scenario, that aliens are actually real. So the government, if they have this information, the last thing they want humanity to do is to push for disclosure or get disclosure, because what that means is they lose control over the population as far as decision making. It's no longer what I call a mommy daddy sort of thing where everything needs to come through the government. It's not official if it doesn't come through them. We voted them in, and when America started, we allowed them to take those positions for whatever reason. They've taken that and run with it, and now they don't care what we think, or they don't care. They'll give us late reports. They won't. They'll do whatever they want because they have the power at this point. All countries have the same situation. Dictatorship, for example. So they are actually playing their control out. China, they control their people.
Let me stop
you. Well, just let me finish real quick.
No, hold on. But for the situation you're talking about, okay, aliens are real. Then
so let me just finish real quick. Just hold that real quick. Hold that. So where I'm trying to get to with this is, so the government is going to want to step in and do anything they can to stop us from getting the disclosure. That's why I feel you were targeted. I feel like you were targeted. You were targeted by the government because in ufology, in the space, you were one of the top programs pushing for people to unite and make those phone calls to Congress. And they didn't like that. They didn't like that. So they sicked their dogs on you, which they did. They're experts in psychological warfare. They looked at you and saw a way to get into your mind and to get you to do exactly what you're doing right now, which is to flip the narrative. So they got you. They reverse psychology on you, and now they took you from being
Rob.
But just listen, they took you from being one of the biggest advocates for disclosure and humanity in the space at the time. They took that person and flipped him to the other side.
You want to know how I know that's not right?
Okay, tell me how.
Because I got so many phone calls from people that have direct ties to the Department of Defense, like Marique von Kloppenstop or whatever his name is from the Hill. He wanted to call me and say, dude, don't do this. Don't blow up your channel for this. Don't do it. All of them. Bob Pliskin called me. Man, you sure you want to do this, man? Your show's doing so great. You're making money, right? Tried to talk me out of it. They tried to talk me out of doing what I did and ending the show. They didn't want me to say what I said, Rob, because I gave away the plan. I told everybody this is not. My warning shot to the community was, I don't know what's going on here with this narrative, but something's not right. And it's not aliens. It's not aliens. These guys, and we've heard these guys, especially Lou. I'm not a ufologist. I never have been. I never will be. This was, if it was a psyop, it was a psyop to bring attention to a very real national security problem. That's what it was. And they used us, the UFO community, to get their laws written and those things put in place. And they got it.
But why would they have to use the ufology community for that? I don't.
Because
so many other ways.
Because it's easier to get dollars and get attention, especially like
on a fringe topic like this.
Ask Senator. Ask Senator from the New York, Gillibrand. She gets more retweets and love when she's hinting at UFOs than she does on any other topic that she tweets about. So yeah, I do think it's a topic that they can use for their advantage and get dollars and things. Look, this Arrow office needed to be made because Lou Elizondo was right in that they weren't paying attention to this issue. This is a very real national security issue, and we were not allocating dollars from the defense budget to look at it. Because the mindset, especially from the military, is we're the United States, man. We're the biggest, baddest motherfuckers on the block. Ain't nobody coming here. And they have been. And they've been listening to us. And they know exactly a lot of information about us. And they've been doing that because we've been asleep at the wheel. And that's why Lou Elizondo claims he quit ATIP, because they weren't listening to him. They weren't listening to him. And so what does he do? He goes to the UFO community. He goes to Tom DeLonge, a rock star who's already interested in UFOs. They are talking to Hillary Clinton. So it's like they got a bunch of buzz and a bunch of interest because of the possibility, just from the possibility and the fun of it. Like, it is fun. It's fun to think about the possibilities, and I'm here for it, right? And I've had all the fun I could possibly soak up. But at some point, you got to go, okay, enough fun. Where's the fucking evidence? Where's the proof, man? Because
so you're frustrated.
I want to have this conversation on a much bigger level,
right,
if it's real.
Right.
And what we're getting, and the personalities that are pushing the disclosure movement are all full of shit. They're all liars. None of them give a shit about disclosure. All they care about is their Patreons, how much money they make, and how many clicks they're getting. They don't give a shit. They never organized anything. They never campaigned for anything. They never, and when the time came to do it, they were dead ass silent. 24, so they were 365-day-a-year activists who, for some reason, didn't show up to fucking when there was actual activism going on. They don't care, dude. They don't give a shit.
I agree with you on that on that statement. I definitely will say that because for one, I'm pro humanity, and the reason why I do this is to find ways to push humanity forward and get humanity to that point. So me personally, I'm not in it for the money, but then I look around and I can see that some are, but I can also see that some are actually for disclosure as well. And I have some friends out there, podcasters, that are actually about disclosure. So there is a little bit of both going on here.
Yeah, but can I ask, Rob, what are they doing about it?
Well,
other than talking about it.
Well, here's what am I doing about it? I'm just coming on air and looking at, the positives of what we do have, and brainstorming with the community on ways that we can gather our own information so we don't need the government, because I think that's the distraction, is that we get so wrapped up in what they said or what do they think, or when it's not even about them. If we just block them out of the whole scenario, don't listen to anything they say, period, good or bad, for UFOs or against UFOs. If we just cut them out the picture, and then we take the evidence that we have just on our own. So let me ask you this. So what is your opinion then on aerial school, the aerial school sighting? What do you think that? What do you think about that?
It's another. At first, it was very interesting, very compelling, especially after I talked to the director, like we had him on our show.
Yeah.
But what I learned after he left the show was that, and I didn't know this, but do you know who funded most of John Mack's work?
No, I don't.
Bob Bigelow.
Okay.
Bob Bigelow is one of the biggest scumbags in this discussion that we have.
Okay.
Like he basically has governmentized MUFON. Like he took all of those files and he made them government property. Essentially, he helped usher in Skinwalker Ranch, which was all bullshit. It's all bullshit. I mean, we had the security officer that worked on the ranch, Chris Bartell, come on our show and say that 9 out of 10 nights that he was there, everybody was drunk, just literally making up reports about werewolves wearing trench coats And who's picking this shit up and selling it as real stories? George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. Like, it's all bullshit, man. It's a grift. It's a grift, all of it.
So putting them aside, because once again, I think focusing on an individual person, they can do bad things after they've done good. So they can do something good for the community and then just fuck up for the rest of the time they're alive. But that doesn't write out the good thing that they did. But what I would say is, on the Ariel school, the kids. So let's talk about the kids and what they reported to see. So what do you think that they were lying or they were?
I think that John Max. Look, you have to understand what part of the world we're talking about.
Right.
Rural Africa.
Right.
Okay. Even at the time, like, they barely have running water. Okay. So you show up there with a Harvard professor and a camera crew, and a Harvard professor whose work and influence was paid for by a UFO nut job. It starts to make me question, okay.
But their stories were told before he arrived.
No.
True.
He was the only one who listened to those kids. He was the only one who went individually, kid by kid by kid by kid, and then they filmed them. So I think the pool is dirty, is my thing. Kids are really influenced. Kids are very vulnerable. There have been other theories that have been put out there of what the kids might have seen.
And that was 60 kids, though. You know this, 60 kids.
Look, I get it. And again, I don't know. It's compelling. But my problem with it is that the people delivering the story are not reliable. And they're not real journalists.
Okay. How about Westall, the Westall school? Over 200 people plus adults.
Again, interesting. It's interesting. But what year is that, Westall?
I think 1966, I believe.
There's some very interesting craft that have been invented around 1966 that were top secret military things. I think people, like, there's a great video that came out right before, like, literally as I was starting my show. There's a video, and it still gets used as proof of the alien ship. There's video of an entire New Jersey turnpike stopping in the middle of fucking traffic at 5 o'clock during rush hour because people saw what they thought was an alien craft, and there was 15, 30 people filming it, and hundreds of people stopped to see this thing. Because it was the pandemic and nobody had seen a Goodyear blimp in almost a year and a half, they were all fooled by a Goodyear blimp over Monday Night Football.
I don't know how.
That's called a mob mentality. It's called it happens in large groups all the time. Where one person gets excited and scared and freaked out at something they're looking at, and then other people go, oh my God, what's happening? And then everybody starts looking, and then before you know it, it's a fever pitch. Oh my God, it's an alien craft, and people are pulling out their phones. And literally 12 hours later, we were able to find the flight track information of the Goodyear blimp, where the turnpike was, where those people were filming from, what direction they were filming, and it was 100% definitively, without a doubt, concrete as hell, a blimp. So when I hear about 200 people seeing something in 1966, I don't give a shit. It's interesting, but it's not proof. It's not evidence. It's a really cool story.
But you can't do that on every single case, though, Lou.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
You coined the phrase "there is a there," and you said it.
I didn't coin that phrase.
Well,
I did not coin that phrase.
You made it famous in ufology.
I enjoyed that phrase.
That's the only place
and at the time, I believed it because at the time,
why did you believe it?
I was I was feeding my belief system. I was feeding my belief system when that came out of my mouth. And that's why I took all of my episodes down, Rob, because I don't want any of that stuff to influence anybody to go down any more rabbit holes. Because I've gone down the rabbit holes and they all lead to the same place.
If you think about what I was saying earlier, you have done exactly what they wanted you. You killed your whole catalog. You flipped your whole belief when you were one of the leading people in the space in getting people towards disclosure. Do you understand that they got you though, Lou? That's what they did.
No, that's a conspiracy theory, Rob. No, they didn't.
So
no, they did it because they were begging me to not say anything.
You said yourself, Lou Elizondo attacked you. Lou Elizondo said himself he's a counterintelligence officer.
He didn't attack me. He sent his mutts to attack me.
Right. So indirectly.
Publicly, his hands are clean. But privately, he's pulling some shit. And trust me when I tell you, dude, I've got more. That proves that they are full of shit. And if it was my content, I would have released it 5 months ago. But it's not. It doesn't belong to me. But I know that these guys know it's not alien. It's not. I've heard them say it. Okay?
There's easier ways to
I'm
get
not
funded.
doing what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to shut my mouth and be Andy from that UFO podcast. That's what they wanted. They wanted me to continue the show. Let's keep this bullshit train going, please. Please. They begged me. They begged me to not do what I did. And I did it because I felt fucking terrible. Even if they're donations, I felt bad because I felt like I fell for it. I fell for it. I got duped. And that's not fun to admit, Rob.
I get it, man. I hear you.
I'm not the victim of some fucking plan. I got duped. And I realized that I was getting duped. And instead of leaning in because I was making money and my show was popular, I said, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore because I feel like I'm lying to people. And because this is not about non-human intelligent visiting our planet. If it's happening, nobody knows about it. If it's happening, but I don't think it's happening.
Oh, man, Lou,
it's a bummer. I know.
I hear you, man, and I hear you. But see, the thing that I saw the other side of Lou too, though. So I hear this Lou, but I also heard that Lou, and I heard that Lou for a lot longer, and that Lou made a lot of good points, and this Lou's making some good points. But
listen, there have been a couple of things that I said that have come to pass. And it just happened the last 2 weeks. I told you in November or October, whenever my last show was, or September. I think it was September. I told you guys, like, this is not about aliens. It's not. And all these congressional laws, we're not getting aliens out of this. And look at what just happened. Look at what just happened over the last 3 weeks with these balloons and these spy craft. That's what this has been about the whole time. The whole time. And if you can't see that, you're gonna learn the hard way. It's gonna hit you, and you're gonna be in the same place I am, which is like fucking grief. And I'm working through 7 stages of this shit.
Yeah.
It's like my world has been crumbled, dude. Like, I believed this stuff. It's like coming out of a cult. You ever seen that movie, They Live, with Rowdy Rod Piper?
Yeah.
Okay, and he puts on the glasses, and he's like, holy shit, there's a whole nother world here. That's what I feel like with this topic, is somebody beat the shit out of me in a street fight and forced the glasses on my face. And now I can't take the glasses off.
Yes. Okay.
I can't unsee the bullshit. And so, and maybe that's leading me to be a little more cynical. I know I'm definitely a lot fucking angrier because I got duped. I'm angry.
Well,
I have a right to be angry
you,
because I was lied to and I was used. Like that's
yeah.
the part that should disturb you. I was lied to and I was used and I was blackmailed.
Here's the part that disturbed me, Lou, is that the part that really affects me about this is that I can see where you're coming from, and I can see how you can say all these, but this, but that, no proof, no proof. But I genuinely, like, I was on the outside looking in, so I wasn't privy to all the things that were actually done or said. But at the same time, I saw someone who was so passionate about pushing for disclosure, someone who was fully engaged in the subject, and I saw that person get flipped. It all happened when that seed of dissension was sowed in ufology. So you weren't the only one. They attacked a lot of different people and had you guys all fighting each other. They were trying to self-destruct the entire thing. And you ended up becoming a casualty of that. And I just hate that they were able to change your mindset like that. But I do know you have.
I'm glad I'm out of it.
Well, you do one UFO show a week on Lou Reviews, a month on Lou Reviews. So it's still there. It has to be, or you would drop it 100%.
Well, Rob, you know, here's the thing. I fight my belief system still to this day.
Okay.
Every day I fight. Every day I can't let go of this. Why do you think it says 0 days UFO sober on my fucking profile? I'm an addict. I love the topic. I'll always have an interest in it, but man, I'm looking at it in a much different way than you are. And I'm telling you, you're going to end up where I'm at. It might take you a lot longer. Right. You're going to get there maybe a different way, but I promise you, because it's been the last 80 years now, we've been having this discussion, and the answer's slapping you right in the face.
Here's
you're
why
just going, no, it can't be that. There's no way.
Here's why it won't, Lou. This is why it won't. Because I had a sighting, and that regardless what any criticism of the sighting says, I saw objects disappear into thin air, Lou, and we can't do that as human beings. So based on that fact alone, I won't be there because I know.
I think you will.
No, there's no way. There's not a way. There's not a way. They were right there, Lou. They were right there, and then they completely disappeared. Now, if we as our government has some sort of cloaking technology that we're just unaware of, then I'll come back on that side for sure. Like I said, I'm in the middle, but I saw something that brought me over here.
Have you not seen the new BMW that changes color?
Well, no. I mean, completely disappearing and gone.
Yeah, you don't think that technology can blend in with a blue sky and make it look like it disappear?
We theoretically maybe, but where's the proof of that? Where's the proof that
they put it on a fucking BMW, Rob? They put it on a BMW.
Okay, let me bring that up right now. For the audience,
it changes color, dude. It changes color. There's cloaking devices that you've seen it in films where it's literally a screen that's projecting what it's looking at. So from the outside, it looks like you're looking down a hallway, or you're looking at just a blue sky when something's actually flying there. Like this tech it's there. If it's hit again, like if the tech is hitting commercially, then it's been existent, I think, for a long, long time, man. Like, so to say that, and there are cloaking devices. I mean, our planes are invisible to radar, like they are. Now, your eyes are not radar, and I'm not saying that, right? Those are two completely different or spectrums to look at. But your eyes are not as reliable as you think, and that's not my opinion. That's scientific fact. You keep using your eyes as the burden of proof, and I think that's where you're hung up. Your eyes they're not proof. They're not.
Okay.
They're not, man.
See, but here's what I want you to understand that you're doing. You may not realize you're doing it. but you are debunking every single thing that's ever happened and ever could happen. You're finding a explanation for it. You're doing
Rob,
exactly
because
what
there
you
is
criticized Mick West of doing when you were with UCR. You criticize people
I never criticized Mick West. Mick
that.
West has been on my show 4 or 5 times. Mick West was one of the reasons I started thinking in a more clear way. Again, it took me 2 years to get there, Rob. You're gonna get there. Eventually, you're gonna get there. And you're gonna realize one day that your eyes are not proof. And sometimes things you look at are not what they are. They're just not. Like, we've seen pictures of mirages of shipping cargo ships that look like they're floating, and they're not floating. They're mirages. Like, this shit happens all the time. And people say, oh, you know, I saw it. Great. I believe that you saw it. But that doesn't mean that what you saw is definitely not a balloon, definitely not a drone, definitely not a Chinese lantern. Like, you're putting all of these definites, and you didn't catch one. You didn't grab one. You didn't even get good footage of it. Like, it's just not. Like, it's not. And I don't mean to say that as I'm not trying to be an asshole.
No,
but like,
this is
again,
what I
like,
wanted you to be.
We need proof. We need, like, the story we've gotten. If we want stories, we've got all the stories in the world. They're there. They'll always be there, and we'll always have them. Today, in 2023, our standard needs to be higher. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not happening. That's not what I'm saying. It could be, but I think it's a very small, so small of a chance that I don't think it's happening. I really don't. I really don't. And
well, we can keep going on this because it's always going to be. What about
Rob,
this? Well, no,
Rob,
you can't do that.
Let me ask you this: who's gotten closer to the source of all of this, you or me?
I would say you.
Okay,
I would say
so
you.
You're taking my experience and my eyewitness stuff, and you're kind of just throwing it out the window.
No,
because you don't like the way it makes you feel.
No, Lou, I respect you, and it's the reason why I reached out to you.
I'm
Because
not
I'm
saying it's disrespectful.
I know that
I don't feel disrespected. Just FYI, I don't feel disrespected. But what I'm saying is that you're taking my eyewitness, what I saw happen to me, and you're going, no, it's real. And I'm telling you, no, it's not, based off of my experience with how close I was to that source. And that's all I'm saying is you can believe me or you cannot. Again, it's a story. It's a story.
It's a story. I wasn't there, obviously, so it could have been a flash of light. It could have been a flash from a camera, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I'm just going off of what you say. I believe it was a plasma ball because that's the way you describe it.
I'm not talking about my UFO experience. I'm talking about my experience with Lou Elizondo, with Sean Cahill, with lawmakers, like with the narrative. Who's closer to the narrative out of the two of us?
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
you definitely are.
I got as close as you could possibly get to the fun stuff. And when I got there, I said, "Oh, this is all bullshit." And then I was confirmed with how I was treated and how I was spoken to and how I was threatened. And all of that came from those guys.
They did.
But it didn't come until after. It didn't come until after they called me and tried to talk me out of it.
Why did they do that, though? Why did they choose you? Why did everyone choose you to attack?
They didn't, because
there's a reason.
Because I asked the question that nobody liked, and especially Lou Elizondo didn't like, because our question of, do you have sock puppet accounts? There's only one good answer to that question, and it's no. Anything outside of no crumbles the integrity and the credibility of that entire narrative. Because I'm going to go to Lou Elizondo's Twitter handle right now, and I'm going to read you his pinned tweet. I will always tell the truth. I will own my mistakes and hold myself accountable. Everyone will be treated with respect no matter their position. Abuse or hatred towards others will not be tolerated, and I will always push for disclosure. He's had this pinned since August 22nd of 2020, and behind the scenes through other accounts, he was doing the complete opposite of this.
Right.
That's what made me turn.
Well,
that's what made me start heavily questioning this, and that's why they attacked me, because I simply asked the question. And because that question goes to the core of your belief and my belief, it ruffled a lot of fucking feathers. To a point where I said, you know what? I'm out. You guys, if I was used to bring attention to a very real national security threat, I'm okay with that. If I had a hand, if the big phone home had a hand in making American lives safer, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that too. If some good comes out of it, but Lou, and you're gonna at the end of the day, you're gonna believe what you want to believe. But I'm telling you, Lou Elizondo came out and told everyone what he does for a living, that he's counterintelligence. This is what he does. He fucks with people's minds for a living. So you're not going to be that hard to break. You know what I mean? And he did.
Rob, I'm telling you, you're giving his military record and resume a lot more credit than you should. Because behind the scenes, I've spoken to production companies that have been to his house. I've spoken to people who have spent time with him, a lot of time with him. And the one thing that keeps coming up is he lies all the time. All the time.
Counterintelligence.
All the time. Okay. He's not very. No. But what I'm saying is the reason why he's not good at counterintelligence. Because if he was, his sock puppets would have never been found out. But they were. Because he's an idiot. He's a dum-dum when it comes to this kind of shit. So when I tell you behind the scenes, there are a lot more stories about the dysfunction of this group of people, okay, and how they have taken ideas and literally stolen them and gone to pitch meetings without the people who were there to fucking film it. Like just insane stories where I go, oh, these are just a bunch of UFO believers that happen to work for the government, and they're doing whatever they're doing for whatever reasons they're doing it. I really don't give a shit about their motivations anymore, but I do know their motivation is not to give you and me truth on aliens visiting Earth.
Okay.
And here's the biggest difference between you and me is I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong on this. You don't.
I think that's the biggest difference.
That, okay.
And that I know I do.
Well, I think you're wrong. And here's the thing. I hope I'm wrong.
I know you say that, and I agree with you. I hope you're wrong too, but I pretty much know that you're wrong because just based on my own experience. So based on my own experience, and here's the thing. When you have a person that has an experience, only they know what actually happened. Just like with your sighting, only they know. So to discount or disapprove something that you don't actually have any
I'm
evidence
not discounting it,
No,
Rob.
I'm not saying that
I'm not discounting you. I'm not discounting it. Let me make this 100% clear. It's just not proof. Do you understand the difference? No, to science. No, to science.
We don't care about science. That's what I mean. Science is hidden so many things from us. Science changes their mind on things every other year. When we went to school, there was a planet called Pluto. Remember that? Pluto is no longer a planet. They just found out 10, 15 years ago.
Facts on Pluto.
Right. Because so now they have to change what they thought. So what they're thinking today in 15 years they're going to have changed that thought.
Right. And
so
what I'm telling
you,
what I'm telling you is the day I change my mind, and the day that science changes its mind, and the day the world changes its mind on this conversation is the day that it's undeniable.
Right.
And that hasn't happened.
I'm still waiting for that. I'm still waiting for that.
So is the rest of the world. And your story ain't going to change that shit. And my story
not by
ain't
itself.
going to change that shit. So that's why I say it's not evidence, Rob. It's a story. It's valid. It's something that should be taken into consideration, but it's not proof. It's not proof. It's not proof. I can't say that enough. And there's nothing that you can say that can discount that.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it.
That's the real world.
I get it.
That's the real world, man. Like, you need
to
prove it. If you're going to claim it, if you're going to have extraordinary claims, you need the extraordinary evidence, and we don't have it.
So you tell me what would be proof.
They show up.
That's
okay?
That's proof. That's
one crashes. How come they never crash in Manhattan? How come they never crash or show up over the Super Bowl?
I couldn't tell you that. I mean,
because they're not there.
Truthfully, I don't think they're just crashing. I believe that they're being brought down in some cases. So
I don't.
I don't think that they come all this way and then crash.
I don't.
Well, in order to believe that they crash, period, you have to believe in something.
Yeah, but no, you don't. Like, if they were here, if they crash all the time, which is what we're told, we've been told about all these crashes around the world. How come they don't crash? How come we haven't had a big UFO crash in like 70 years? Or not 70, but like 50, 60 years. How come whatever happened to the triangles? How come there's no more triangles anymore? Whatever happened to radiation burns and cattle mutilations? Those don't happen anymore like they were happening in the 70s. Why? It's like, dude, these are all they're patterns. They're human patterns, and they're things that can all be tied to very terrestrial things that can be explained. If you don't like the explanation, I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, that sucks. And for a long time, I didn't like the explanation Mick West was giving. For a long time, I thought Mick West was being rude. But then I started listening to Mick West and shutting my mouth and actually looking at the math that he does, and then saying, okay, well, who's got the counter argument? Who's got the best counter argument to this? And you can't find anybody. You can't find anybody. And it's insane to me that it's this guy who does all this shit for free is the guy that's debunking all of these things. And here, you want to know when I'll believe? When Mick West goes, okay, this is weird. This is proof. When Mick West puts his stamp of approval on it, that's when I'll go straight to Twitter. I'll go, hey guys, I was wrong. And thank God, because now we're about to have some fun. I want to have the fun.
I've been reading his tweets. He doesn't seem to have a definitive opinion right now in this moment as far as what everything that's going on. It appears from his tweets that he's still trying to sift and search through some of this stuff too.
Well,
let me ask you this.
If you talk to him, you'll learn that he is very open to the idea of alien craft being here. He just wants the proof. He just wants the definitive proof. That's it. And I don't think that's a big ask.
Right.
Now, what you start defining as proof, we don't get to do that. Like, evidence is evidence. Science is science. And if you want to prove something, you have to have those elements in it. And if it doesn't have those elements in it, and it's just a story, I'm sorry, it can't be used as definitive proof of anything.
I know, but see, when you, and that's the thing, when you spread that sort of thought process, then no one wants to report their sightings anymore because it's not proof. It's not proof. Just like you're saying. That's the thing.
It's not. We don't need we don't need any more stories. We don't. We need a piece of the ship. We need one of the aliens talking to us. We need to dissect something. We need to test the materials in a lab. Like, we need something where the scientific community goes, holy shit, look at this. And we have not gotten that yet.
Okay.
None of the metals that have been recovered from Area 51 have ever turned out to be alien. None of the metal spheres that Ross Coulthard produced on his show turned out to be alien. None of this shit ever turns out to be anything of significance.
Okay.
Ever. And then you're looking at me like, well, you got to prove they're not here. Really?
Well,
really?
It kind of goes both ways, though.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
If you can sit up and say, "Now that's not happening," then you would, and I say it is happening, or anyone else says it is happening. You're both in the same position, so you can't. I mean, you can stand on what you say. I can stand on what I say, and then we just agree to disagree. But you can't just say that this isn't possible because no, it's actually this or it's actually that. You want to know
why? Because it's not a fact yet. Like, if you and I both go outside right now, we look up into the sky, and I say the sky is red, and you say, no, it's blue. It's fucking blue because that's the fact.
Right.
That's what it is. We've done it in the lab. We've put it through the scientific rigor. We can't do that with this discussion yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever done, do you own any sky watching equipment?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because if you were trying to get proof, that would be one avenue to look at or go down, is to invest in sky watching equipment. Because I have, if you check out my last episode, I have Tom King filming anomalous activity in the air, has cameras mounted on his roof that track things in the sky, and he has things that are moving crazy, right angle turns.
I'm familiar with Tom King. I would be very careful with the videos Tom King puts out and using that as any sort of barometer of proof.
Well, I mean,
I'm familiar with Tom King, and I have not seen anything that has impressed me where I look at it and say, well, that could be a drone. And same thing with the Bledsoes.
What about
the Bledsoes put out shit all the time, and it's all bullshit. The twins in Hawaii, the Blake cousins or whatever they are, the third phase of moon guys, they put out videos all the time that are bogus, man. Like, it's gonna need to be better than a video, Rob. It's gonna need better. We need better than the videos that we've gotten, and we need better than the witness testimony that we've gotten. Not that those two things, again, those two things will be taken into account, but we also need the physical proof. We need the physical evidence, and that right there is the gold standard. Without that, we can't definitively rule out or rule in anything. But right now, we can say aliens aren't here because they're not. Again, where I walk outside, do you see aliens here?
So let me ask you this then. Do you believe that 60-foot lizards roam this planet? Used to roam this planet at one point in time? 60-foot lizards.
You mean dinosaurs?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so isn't that weird and crazy?
No, because I've seen their bones.
You've seen their bones, so that's enough proof for you. But had you not seen the bones and they told you that story, would you have believed it?
No, probably not.
Well, but you would have not believed it, even though it was true in the fact that they did. You would have just needed to see.
But Rob, you can't do that, dude.
But
there's
the thing.
4,000 museums all in just this country that have fucking bones. You could go to the desert right now and dig them out of the ground. So I can't deny that.
If there weren't any bones in museums, but I'm giving you this example because we know dinosaurs were here.
If the bones were not in the museum, no, I wouldn't believe it.
Okay,
I wouldn't believe it.
But that doesn't make that the right thought process, though, because once they showed you the bone, then it's like, oh yeah, well, I believe it. So it's not that you don't believe it. It's just that you don't, just like you said, you don't have the proof. So you're standing real hard on the side of not believing. And that's kind of the narrative that I feel like that emanates from you now.
Because what you're not realizing is that your belief system is clouding your ability to think clearly.
I'm not a lifetime believer.
If there's no bones in any museums and nobody's ever discovered 60-foot lizards walking the planet, and one guy comes out and says, well, I know that there's 60-foot lizards. And maybe there's a whole community of people that say, well, 60-foot lizards are a thing. Great. Maybe they were. Fucking prove it. Prove it. Okay. And if that's my attitude, and if 2 months later they come to me with the entire skeletal structure of a triceratops or whatever, I'll say, oh, that's cool. Did we run a DNA test on it? Is there bone marrow? There are a trillion different things that we have to check off before we could all of us collectively say, okay, 60-foot lizards walk the earth. You can't use that as an example. That's a terrible example.
I don't know that it is.
Do we have fucking UFOs in the Smithsonian? Are they hanging from the rafters there?
So
if they are, and I missed the exhibit, then I'll reverse what I'm saying.
That's what the point is that time will tell. So even with dinosaurs, the first bones weren't discovered until 150 years ago. The first bones. So anyone prior to that date who said that lizards roam the earth, 60-foot lizards, they were actually factual. Even though there were a bunch of people who probably said, no, that's not true. No, it's not true. You got to show me the proof.
And then
the bones showed up. You see what I mean?
Nobody on the planet was saying, oh my God, there was 60-foot lizards.
Well,
it wasn't until somebody dug it out of the ground.
You know what I'm trying to say, though, Lou.
But what I'm saying is it wasn't until somebody dug it out of the ground, they said, holy shit, what is this? What is this? This was an animal? This was real. And then you start digging all over the world, and then you see, oh my God, there's more? That's discovering something. We just haven't gotten there with aliens and UFOs. We haven't gotten there. We haven't
gotten there.
And it's been 80 years of...
Which is nothing.
Which is, maybe
you're
right. I will agree with you there. 100%. You might be 100% right on that. 100% right on that. But we don't know.
Okay, so... And that's fine, but the thing that I am really talking about is that you promote that message, though, that they're just it's not true, it can't be true, it could be this, and you give all these 1,000 reasons instead of just saying, just show me the proof. Instead of just saying, okay, I don't really believe in that, just show me the proof, because it could be simple as that. But then you say, somebody said, well, what about this? Then you're like, well, no, but well, just like the cloaking, you just sat here and told me, I told you I saw something disappear in the sky, and you tried to explain it as BMWs have cloaking technology. What is that? What does that mean?
Well, is that really an answer? If a BMW has cloaking or not cloaking technology, but it's got the ability to change its colors and mend with its background.
Chameleons can do that.
Okay, then that means that if it's available commercially, that means the military has probably already played with that technology and has probably already put it on things that can cloak themselves. Like, it's not far to look for cloaking technology. I'm not pulling this out of my ass. That's real stuff.
Right.
So let's be real here, right? Like, it's not like I'm saying, what if there were people talking about dinosaurs and there were no bones? Like, we have there are things that we have cloaked. When there was a picture last year that came out from Area 51 of something on the runway on the tarmac, and it was a foldable hanger with a plane painted on top of it. That's cloaking. That's a form of cloaking. And if you think that an F-22, do you know that when you fly an F-22 Raptor, that helmet that they put on their heads, do you know that helmet gives them the ability to see through the plane?
No, I wasn't aware.
Yeah. That's how advanced our planes are. So that way, when a pilot looks down, they don't see their legs and their feet. They see through the plane so they can get a better situational awareness of where the enemy is.
Sounds like VR.
Right.
Yeah.
So like these are crazy things that they've told us these things do. What do they do that we don't know about? It's not that big of a leap to think, okay, a plane could be there 1 second and then at the flick of a switch, it's not. That's not a huge leap with the tech that already exists. And the reason why I say BMW, it's like, because if a fucking BMW can change its skin like a chameleon, then why can't an F-22 Raptor or a flock of drones?
Okay. I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
Also understand, like, there's an interesting story that David Fravor talked about. And we know they did this in the 60s with the B-2 bomber. They would fly it over Los Angeles in the 60s,
right,
in the 70s, just to see what would happen.
Right.
Just to see what people would say. And of course, everybody fucking reported a UFO. I saw a big triangle in the sky. And in 1977, you would have believed that person. And they're not lying to you. They're not lying to you. They saw it. And they're doing that to see, okay, well, are people calling 911? What does it do to communication systems? Are people calling the police? What's the police reaction? What are people saying it looks like?
Well,
that's all data, dude. That's all data that they're collecting. So when they use it in the real, battle of war, they already have an idea of how people are going to react to it.
Right. Now, I hear you, Lou, but I just know, and deep inside yourself, what the place that you came from or the mindset that you had when you were promoting what you were promoting on UCR. It came from somewhere inside of you, and you didn't have proof then. And now that you're on the opposite side of it,
what I did have?
You still don't have proof on this side either.
No,
so
but
all you've really done is switch sides without the proof has still never been given on from either aspect. So it's like it's fine to choose a side.
But here's the thing, Rob, is if you've watched my show, I never said it was alien. I never told you what it was. I never once told you what it was. No, I said, look, dude, look, this is why we had Rather and Mike on the show, because they're the ones who fight my belief system, right?
Right.
The whole point was to try and be as middle as we can, right? So when I'm hearing senators and congressmen talk about it, and when I'm seeing pilots coming out, and I'm saying, holy shit, this hasn't happened in 60 years. And then that brings up the feelings of my personal experience. And then Lou Elizondo walks into my restaurant and I get to talk to him. Like, I was excited and my belief system took over my rational thinking.
Okay.
And in the 2 years of doing that show, I saw red flag after red flag after red flag after red flag after red flag. And I wouldn't push back because mantra of the show, take the topic seriously, but not ourselves seriously. But I also didn't want to lose access for the questions that were starting to pop up in my head. Because if you start asking these questions, that's when you start getting the pushback. And that's when he stops coming on the show. So you're right in that I didn't have any proof, but I looked at it and I said, holy shit, something is happening here. Let me try and help as opposed to just talk about it. Let me do something. Let me put pen to paper. But I never once, in not one big phone home, you will never see an image of an alien. You will never see the acronym UFO. You will never see anything asking for space craft or alien bodies or any of that stuff. Our asks were as simple as possible and to get the best information that we could from the government to try and make this conversation happen on a national level. That's what I was doing. I wasn't telling people that this is real. and the proof is there, I was in my brain, I was like, okay, something is there, and there is something there, but it's not aliens.
Right.
It's not aliens. Okay. And so that's where I'm coming from. And I never once put my experience on the table as proof. Never once in the 2 years I did my show. So no. Okay. When you say I switched sides, I didn't. I don't think I switched sides. What I think I've done is I've looked at both sides as best I could, all the way from the most extreme witness to the most ardent skeptic. And I even got the most ardent skeptic to sign a petition to get more information on UAP. Who the fuck else has done anything remotely close to that in this field?
No,
nobody.
That's why.
Nobody.
That's
okay?
why I've been.
So
that's why I've been bigging you up.
No, but
that's
what I'm saying is I didn't switch sides. Is I'm looking at the facts, and if the facts change the way I think or what I think is true, then I have to accept the new facts and move on. And those are the new facts that were put on the table. Everything that my show experienced, everything that Rather experienced going through these interviews with Lou Elizondo, all of the harassment I got, all of the all of the information and people that reached out to me going, I had the exact same experience with that guy. And how many bridges have been publicly burned by Lou Elizondo?
Okay, so you got those, but how many how many emails did you get from people telling you, hey man, you're doing a great job, keep pushing disclosure, I'm glad that you're doing this? You probably got a lot more of those.
Yeah, and all of those people that sent me those emails now hate my fucking guts and can't stand me. Why? Because I'm going, this ain't what I think it is. I don't think this is gonna end the way you guys want it to. That's all I'm telling you. And I get death threats now because I'm saying that.
That's never
because I got close to the information. I did something about it. And then after new facts were put on the table, I said, okay, I'm forced to change my mind because there's new facts on the table. If you can't accept that, that's not my problem. That's your problem. That's your problem. So dude, this is like why I know I come off bitter and I'm angry. It's because I am. Because I am.
Okay,
I am bitter and I am angry because I feel like I've been fooled. And my entire 2 years that I've worked my ass off to build this show. And what people don't know about my show is that it was actually paying my bills. I was doing it full time. It was not a great paying job, but fuck, it did not feel like work for me. I was having a blast.
Exactly.
And I gave all of that up to be honest with my audience.
Right.
And so when I get things, when I get a statement like you just said, oh, you switched sides. Oh, this message isn't what it used to be. Yeah, no shit. No shit. You know, you were writing me how much you loved me 4, 5, 6, 7 months ago and what great work I was doing.
Yes, sir.
And the second I tell you the facts have changed, you're sending me death threats.
Oh, yeah, not me.
No, not you.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like when you're insinuating that like you're doing the same thing, it's just you don't have any proof either. The proof is not on me. The proof is on the extraordinary claims. If you're saying that aliens are visiting our planet, fine, fucking prove it. That's all I'm asking you to do. Right. Don't give me a story. Don't give me another fucking eyewitness testimony. Don't give me another fucking pilot. Give me some actual motherfucking evidence that Harvard, Brown, MIT, Elon Musk, and the whole world goes, what the fuck is that? What is that? That's what I want.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You guys can continue with this bullshit discussion for the next fucking 60 years if you want. I'm out, dude. I'm out. Like, and the only time I'm going to report on this is to just discuss it with my buddies and because I got to get it out of my system. Because now, again, the glasses are on and I see all of the bullshit. When I look at an advertisement for Budweiser, it just says consume now, you know, just like it did in the movie. Like, everything to me has been crystallized, and maybe I'm wrong. And again, I want to be wrong on this. I want to be wrong, but I don't think I am. And that's what bums me out. And that's what angers me. I want to be wrong, but I know I'm not. I know I'm not, just because based off of what I've seen and what's happened to our show and the manipulation and the lies. For what?
Okay, so promise me this then, Lou. At least this. You want proof. Say you get the proof, okay? In a form that satisfies you.
Yeah.
At that point, are you back to pushing for disclosure for the people?
Why would we? I need to push for disclosure. It happened, right?
Well, what I mean, and that's kind of the thing. See, my thing, my show is looks past disclosure. It's about what does humanity do next. So and that's the thing that I wanted to point out too. People in this disclosure space, you have to care about humanity in order to get any credibility on your disclosure movement to begin with. So if all you care about is finding out if UFOs are here, that's really not what it's about. The picture is, where can humanity go once we get that? I asked you one time, you probably don't even remember. I was under a personal account before my show, way before I was on any show. We talked in Discord. I don't know if you remember this question, but I asked you, I said, I appreciate what you guys are doing, but this is before all the mess started. And then I asked you specifically, do you have any plans post disclosure? So once disclosure comes, do you have a plan for what or where your show goes after disclosure comes? I don't know if you remember me asking that question, but
did I answer?
Yeah, please.
No, did I answer?
No, you really didn't. It kind of,
I'm sorry. I'm terrible on Discord. But that's pretty well known. It depends on what your definition of disclosure is. Because if you're talking about the disclosure I think you're talking about, which to me is aliens come, they land on the White House lawn. Hello, this is who we are. This is our leader. This is our president. This is our culture. This is our technology. And we're staying here. We're here to stay and help you ascend to the stars. Okay. If that's what we're talking about, that's a whole paradigm shift.
Right.
It's a whole paradigm shift. Okay. If we're talking about a mysterious thing that zipped off really fast on video, that's not disclosure.
Right. I can agree.
You understand? Like, so, like, I asked this to one of my comedian friends. It was like one of the first episodes I did. She's a writer out here. And I was like, like, what would it take you to pay attention to this? Like, and I showed her, hey, did you know about the gimbal? Did you know about the Go Fast? Did you know about this? Played her the videos. She's like, holy shit. She was blown away, just like I was when I first saw them. And she's like, Lou, honestly, I wouldn't want to know unless it was something specific that would help me protect my family. Like, for example, if the aliens came here and they didn't like green backpacks, I'd throw out all the green backpacks in the house, and I'd want to know that. Outside of that, I don't want to know anything. And I was like, that's interesting. Because it's honestly, that idea, that reality scares the shit out of people. But even if it happened, let's say that scenario happens tomorrow where they come, they introduce themselves, they integrate into our society. It's going to be about a week before people go, all right, it's time to get fucking back to work. This is the new reality. Rent is due in a week. You think your landlord's not going to collect rent because fucking aliens came? Dude, no. No, he's still going to want that red check at the end of the month. And reality in life has got to move on. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this. We have gotten as far as this conversation will take us. We've gotten as far. We've gotten as far as witness testimony will take us. We've gotten as far as grainy videos will take us. Now we need something better. What that is, I don't know. but it's not a grainy video. It's not an eyewitness testimony. It's not another pilot. It's not another senator. And it's surely not the president of the United States telling me. I need to see it now. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I need to see with my own eyes. And even if I see with my own eyes, I'm still going to question the shit out of it until they make it 1,000,000% clear where it's undeniable now. Now it's the bones in the museum. I can't deny it. Here are the bones. Here's the fucking DNA tests that have been run on them. Here's where we found them. Here's who found them. Here's the time, the cattle, all of this stuff that comes with making discoveries. That's what this conversation needs now. Yeah. These podcasts and these people that sell books and all this bullshit, like, it's as far as it'll go. This conversation has reached its absolute peak. And I have a feeling in 20 years, something similar is going to happen again, where we get this UFO rush, and then it's going to die down again because there's nothing to it. Because this conversation is the perfect distraction. The perfect distraction. They much rather have us talking about aliens than China spying on our fucking nuclear facilities. They don't want mom and dad or soccer mom knowing that there could be a drone swarm above them with containers of anthrax. They don't want to know that shit. And I can guarantee you the Air Force doesn't want them to know. I promise you that. And that's what all of this is about, is to fix this glaring hole in our security system. Because an F-16 or an F-22 Raptor is not designed to shoot down a fucking drone. They're just not. So our defense system is vulnerable, incredibly vulnerable, especially to EMP. Like, EMP, I think, is the thing that's scaring me the most. Because if you knock out one nuclear reactor, or let's say the Hoover Dam, that's going to cause a big fucking problem. A big problem.
Yeah, I agree.
And to me, and not to me, but to every general, every secretary of state, every lawmaker, and every person within the military that's ever commented on this, first words out of their mouth always is, it's a risk for our pilots. It's dangerous to the national security system. Always. It's never, ever, ever about aliens. I mean, we had the Secretary of the Navy discussing how they have battleships in Yemen or around the Mediterranean, and they see objects on the radar, hundreds of them, sitting out there just off the ships. And it sounds mysterious and crazy. And he's like, they're not doing anything. They don't do anything. And so they get knocked down on the priority list. Like, they just do, because there's other real world pirates. They're protecting shipping lanes for other countries. Like, they've got shit to do. And so a couple of objects off of, they don't care. They don't care. They really don't. And if I think they thought they were a threat, then they would knock them up the priority list. And they're just not. This is why our media doesn't take this conversation seriously. This is why science doesn't take this conversation seriously. Nobody in academia, nobody in the real world is taking this conversation.
You froze there, Luke. You still there? Okay. Like Lou may have having problems on his end. Go ahead and drop him out. See if he comes back in. Okay, well, doesn't seem like we got him back yet. Looks like he dropped out. See if he comes back in. I mean, he makes points if you have that view, then he makes good points from that view. But don't, and I guess either way it goes, don't just be swayed by what a person says. You definitely want to research for yourself. You want to look in, get the answers that you can get for yourself. And the only thing I was talking to Lou about was just the fact that I feel like he's standing on a stage and voicing the other side of it. So maybe we'll get him back in here, maybe not. If not, you guys have been here for a while anyway. So this is what we'll do. Hey, Angela G. Yep. People in academia begin to take it seriously, although some are doing it quietly. Gary Nolan said scientists have offered to help him. Yeah, definitely. And looks like we got Lou. I think he's coming back in. Okay.
My power completely went out. The whole
whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, dang. Okay. Well, I mean, you could finish your point if you wanted to. Okay, cool.
I don't
So
even know what it was, so don't even sweat it.
all right. Well, Lou, you know, I've had you here for a very long time here, and I just want you to know that I still respect your view, even though it's where it's at now. You know, like I said, I reached out to you because of what your show did for the movement, and I can still see that you know, somewhere in there, I think there's still something there. Now, granted, I hope you get the proof that you need to come back to this side, but you know,
Rob, you ever seen that movie Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
Remember the scene where he's asking that girl out, and she's like, so what are the chances? She's like,
but there's a chance,
not very good. You know, he's like, 100 to 1. She's like, more like 1,000,000 to 1. So you're saying there's a chance,
right?
And that's where I'm at, right? Like, if it happens, man, if to answer the question from before, if it happens, I'll be the first guy to come on my show and say I was wrong, all of you were right, and I apologize. I fucked up. I guess I got lost in my own sauce, right?
Okay.
I want to be wrong, and I got no problem being wrong with it on this one. But
I'm glad to hear that, Lou.
But as of right now, man, I just need more. I need more. You know, you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, sure. There's always a chance, baby. You know, I want to have fun. I want to talk about this in a way that's fun. I want to talk about it in a way that's full disclosure, but it's just not going to happen. At least I don't think in my lifetime. And if it does, man, like I said, I'll be the first one to go, shit, Rob, you were right. I'm a dummy. I'm wrong.
Okay, you gonna come back here and say that?
Absolutely. You can hold me to it.
That's right.
You'll hold me to it.
Sure will.
This will be the first place. If you want me to come here first, I'd be more than happy to.
Please do. Please do. Okay, well, man, I really appreciate your time, man, Lou. I wanted you here because I knew you were going to be honest. I love your passion, and I knew that we would have a good back and forth. Obviously, no hard feelings behind this.
No, man, not at all. And I don't think, I hope, again, like my girlfriend's like, God, you're yelling. I'm like, I'm just passionate. Like, I'm not yelling at passion. You. I'm not angry at you.
No, I know you're not.
I'm not, you have your belief system, and there's nothing I can do to shake you off that tree. And there's nothing I can do or say that's going to shake you off that tree. All I can say is, like, look, here's what happened to me. Here's what I went through. Here's my experiences. And from what I can see, it's not what we want it to be, you guys. It's just not. And, and instead of devoting all of my energy and my life into something, I'd rather take that energy and devote it into my acting, devote it into my sketch group, devote it into my other show
reviews.
Yeah.
Reviews, so the gaming channel. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, if I could do it with UFOs, I could pretty much do it with anything. It's just I'm gonna have to rebuild and start from scratch, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But I could tell you, not a lot of people would walk away from $25,000 a year.
I couldn't figure it out. Yeah.
And I didn't walk away from it because I felt like I was in a right place where people are being honest with me and being as transparent as they can be, and trying to find common ground and trying to from a intelligent perspective try and really have this conversation, really engage people other than just talk about it, because talking about it, we've been doing that for 80 years. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And so I tried to do something about it. It was successful in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways it wasn't. But we'll see what happens, man. Like you said, only time will tell. But as far as I'm concerned right now, like I can't devote any more time into entertaining. Oh, there's our power, into entertaining the conversation, because like you can see I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
This conversation is exhausting. Like we could go back and forth all day because there's no proof. There's no proof.
Exactly.
Again, like it's a burden of proof thing, and I want that proof just as badly as you do. But I think the biggest differences between us is that our standards of proof are a lot different from what we want. And that's not to say that my standard is better than your standard, but they're just different.
Right.
And I think another thing again is like, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong on this. And I think a lot of folks that have the belief can't even think about being wrong, not even for a second. They can't even contemplate it. Like they can't even say to themselves, oh my God, maybe that formation of lights was birds. Maybe if I do more research on how angles and atmospheres and sunlight, how that works off things that are high in the atmosphere, like dig deeper, man. Dig deep. That's the name of the show. Like dig as deep as you can, and
that's true. That's
and
true.
Like the thing I respect about you is your questions are respectful. You let me vent, which is great. And you're not taking anything personally. And I think
not at all.
I think the conversations like this need to be had. We need to be able to get excited and put our passion and our opinions on the table, but also have the room to be like, all right, so what's your opinion? Here's where I disagree. And yeah, let's get heated. Let's get to a place, but just as long as we walk away from the conversation going, hey, I still respect you. I still appreciate, like, you're the only host that's ever dove into my film career. And I thought that was really fucking sweet. Like, that's like, you want to connect with me as a human. You did an excellent job at that. So, I'm willing to give you as much time, as much patience, and as much as my perspective as I can. And I think that's what's important for a conversation, right? But I think we also need to hold people to higher standards. And that includes podcast hosts, that includes me, that includes people like Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and Lou Elizondo and Cahill and all of these people. Like, you need to hold their feet to the fire every time they come with new information. You need to fucking poke as many holes in that data as you can and then see what's left. And if what's left adds up to proof, chef's kiss. Now you're on to something. But if you poke holes and it starts to sink because it can't hold its own story, then you need to call that out. You need to call that out. And there are a lot of podcasts that had the similar message to mine, or that promoted my show, or that were super in love with what we were doing, and they were dead silent when it came to the abuses that we had, the blackmail, the idea of getting together on one day and asking for something. Like, they don't care. All they care about is that money. When you're making $100,000 a year peddling hope, which is what the UFO conversation is a lot of the times, you're just peddling hope and what if. And that money is it's hard. Take it from me.
When it
It's hard to
motivates
walk
you,
away from. It's hard to walk away from. It's very tempting to just say, you know what, fuck it. You know what? Let's get Jeremy Corbell on the show. Let's entertain his bullshit. Let's get George Knapp on the phone. Because I could have, if I had just shut up and not did what I did, I would have had Knapp on the show. I would have had Lou back on the show. I would have had all of these, anybody I wanted. But because I challenged them and I said, no, your behavior is not matching what your public persona is saying, I got attacked. And that's fine. But that shows, to me, that should be proof to anyone. Like, how does somebody go from running a grassroots campaign advocating for people to interact with their government in a positive way to going, oh my God, all of the advocacy work I've done was for naught. It was for naught. It was for all, like, it on one hand, like I said, I'm really proud of it because, like I said, if I had a hand in helping protect American lives on any level or bringing attention to it on any level, I can hang my hat on that, and I'm super proud of that. But the other side of that I'm not proud of is I feel like it helped people go deeper down a rabbit hole that is really difficult to get out of and just apply critical thinking skills. Critical thinking. This conversation lacks so much critical thinking, and it's the biggest disease in the UFO discussion is critical thinking. It's like a cancer. There is no critical thinking coming from the top voices in this discussion, and I don't care to call them out. I don't care to call out Andy from that UFO podcast. I don't care to call out Vinny from Disclosure Team. I don't care to call out Lou. I don't care to call out any one of these other podcasts, Jimmy Church, or any one of these guys that are selling and propagating bullshit. The bullshit. Like Linda Moulton Howe is full of shit. She's a liar. She is in this for the money, man. And it is, if you can't see that, I don't know what to do for you, you know? And I would just urge people again, hold your heroes' feet to the fire, question them as hard as you possibly can. Be respectful, you know, and sometimes, like, depending on who I'm talking, I will always answer questions. I will always be respectful with you until you start popping off. The second you start popping off at me, that's when I take the gloves off. I don't give a shit anymore. Like, I don't care. I will always answer any question. And here's the thing also, like, Lou Elizondo's never come out and publicly said, oh, he's lying. He never apologized for what he did to our show and on our show. He never apologized for calling Rather's mom a hooker. He never, like,
that was nasty.
We never once got an apology or any sort of mending of bridge, opportunity because, and he's never once publicly acknowledged it because he knows it happened. He knows it happened. And there's proof, not with just me. I mean, John Greenwald's got voicemail. Like, dude, there's so many things that people don't know about when it comes to Lou Elizondo and Sean Cahill and David Fravor. This story, just wait till that stuff comes out. And then I'd love to have a conversation with you and say, what'd you think about what he said?
Yeah.
It would blow your mind. It would blow your mind. And that stuff eventually I think is going to make its way to the surface. But that's other people's material, other people's stuff that they collected. And it's not on me to release that. That's their stuff. So when they're ready to do it, they'll do it. But like I said, the stories that I've gotten from people, like You know, Jeremy McGowan, Stephen Greenstreet, the UFO Garage guys, all of those guys have quit and disappeared. All of them. Because everything that happened to me happened to them.
Wow. I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, so, and trust me, there's other podcasts, big shows that have called me and they're like, I'm going to see how far I can take this. And I'm like, okay, well, in the meantime, you're peddling bullshit and you're peddling a narrative that is literally stamped approved by the powers that be. If Lou Elizondo's going on your show, that means that you're really dumb. You don't ask good questions. If he's coming on your show all the time, or Sean Cahill's pushing something, I would just say be very careful who they push and the people that they give information to and the people that they give interviews to. Because they don't give interviews to anyone that asks them any tough questions. The second a tough question is asked is the second they stop doing the show. And that's why John Greenwald stopped doing the show, because he asked too good of questions. And that's why my show got attacked, because our question was really good. It was really good. And because of the answer that we got, you know, I was thinking in my brain, you know, and again, we sat on that question for almost a year and a half. We were sitting on that question because I didn't want to be the one that ruffled the feathers. But after 2 years of the same bullshit, I was just like, fuck it. Let's ask the question. Who cares? At this point, let's just, I mean, I genuinely thought the answer was going to be, nope, never had a sock puppet. But instead we got, well, what if I called your mother a hooker? And then that's when everything just absolutely derailed everything. And then the leaking of my private text messages with him and the whole Richard Butt and Rob Heatherly thing. And, you know, and Thomas Fessler, he's like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to this discussion. He's the worst.
To be fair,
possibly.
To be fair, I mean, Fess, as far as, and you know, he hasn't done anything to me per se, so I can't, you know.
Fessler stole my show. Fessler literally tried to get to be part of my show at the beginning of it. I told him to go kick rocks. And then he started doing his, he stole my fucking opening phrase for the show. Like, he just stole my show. And he's also a terrible person. And that's not, I'm just saying that he's confessed those things on his own show and he's erased all the episodes. But I've got a nice collection of clips of him being a misogynistic, racist, fat shaming asshole. I've got clips of him changing his story from one fucking thing to the next. He said Lou Elizondo should be arrested and then was doing shows with Goof on, you know, like, and then 2 months later, he's pro Lou Elizondo and licking the boots of all these fucking people that are on his show now. Anybody who does business with Thomas Fessler, again, be careful. He's my least favorite of all of the personalities that have shows or whatever. He is hands down the most dangerous because he's literally the most unintelligent voice out there. And I mean that with all of my heart. He is dumb, like dumb.
Well, I have to, I just have to say, I mean, my dealings with him have been fine. He's been okay.
Yeah, because
he seemed like okay guy to me.
He doesn't want anything from you.
So I don't. Okay.
He doesn't want anything. What could he possibly want from you? You know.
Right.
There's a lot of stories about Thomas Fessler and the things that he said behind the scenes and the things that guy's done behind the scenes. And there's a reason why Rob Heatherly's not on his show anymore. And that's a whole nother person that, oh boy, wait till some information comes out about that guy. But yeah, he is the mouthpiece now for Lou Elizondo. He stole the format of my show. Oh, we don't take the top, whatever the fuck he says. He literally stole everything that I did and just made it his because he's a fucking hack. He doesn't have one original bone in his body. And he's a self-described. He admitted on his show that his family doesn't talk to him because of his gambling issues and he's not reliable. I mean, that's his own confessions. So I would be careful, Rob. You know, I told everybody the same thing about Katie Hallen And I told everybody the same thing about Chupacabra, and look at where that guy is now. I said all of these things. People will look at me like, oh no, man, you're just being a hater. You're just, all right, watch. Just watch. I mean, everything I've said so far has come to pass. So
I hear you, Lou. Now, the only thing is that I'm pro-humanity. So with that means I want everyone to be able to get on one accord and kind of put differences aside. And
yeah, I'm willing. And I did that. I did that for almost 2 years, and I got backstabbed by every single person that was pretending to be my friend. And Thomas Fessler was one of those guys. And there's a lot of other people. And that's a great in theory, Rob. And that's all sounds good and makes me cuddly and warm inside, but that's not the real world. That's not.
I understand. That's the perspective. Yeah, I get that. It's a goal that it will be hard to get to because there is division and divisiveness within ufology, just like in society. So it's definitely going to be a hard dream to get to, but that's the approach that I go with. Like, I don't hold anything against anyone unless they've done something to me directly, obviously.
Yeah,
but
well, Thomas Fessler has done stuff to me directly, including fat shaming and misogyny and all sorts of fun, nasty shit. That's not me just saying it. I've got a compilation video of it. You can go to my YouTube. It's one of the few videos I left up. That's how much I dislike that man. I'm not gonna. I mean,
I hope you guys can get past that, man.
Oh,
really
never. I'll never, ever deal with that guy. I've got no interest in people like that. They're just energy suckers. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to talk about that guy anymore. Anyway, dude.
Yeah, because I definitely, like I said, I don't have anything against any. Someone could tell me something about you, and it's not going to matter because of whatever relationship I have with you. So, and it's going to be the same way with everyone in ufology.
Yeah,
until something happens.
And Rob, that's what I did too for 2 years. People would say, "Oh, don't talk to this guy, don't talk to that guy." I was like, "Hey, I'm going to give the person the opportunity to show me who they really are," and everyone has shown me who they really are. I know who's in this for real and who's in this to just sell T-shirts and bullshit. And again, there's nobody's doing anything. They're just talking about it. Go do something. Right. Go actually change something. Stop fucking talking about it and go do something about it. Until then, I don't really give a fuck. Like, I don't care what your opinion is. Like, you can talk to your blue in the face. Go do something. Go prove something. Go find something. Go talk to a fucking lawmaker. Go do something. Just stop talking about it because it's annoying. And that's all everyone is doing. Everyone is guilty of that, including me. And that's why I stopped. Because it's like, okay, I've taken this as far as I can, as far as boots on the ground and pen to paper activism. It's not going to go any further because people don't want it. That's not what they want. And they showed me that. People don't want that. They don't want disclosure. They just want their belief system verified.
I hope it's not that dark, Lou. I hope it's not that dark out there.
Well, you're starting on this journey. Good luck, my friend. You'll see. You'll see.
Well, let's end this on a good note. Let me see here. So, for anybody, obviously, who these are Lou's opinions, Lou's views.
They do not express the opinions of the social dig.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But everybody's gonna have their and I respect your opinion. But with that being said, I want everybody to still know that you have that movie Taco Shop out. So let's laugh. Let's laugh before we get out of here. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Please go check out Lou Jimenez in the movie Taco Shop. Here goes the trailer.
Get up. Time to go to work.
You want to
check this out. Watch this, guys.
What are you gonna do?
No, just no. Watch. No, watch. This is gonna be funny. This is gonna be.
Hey. Hi. Hey. Oh my.
Let's see what you can cook up.
Really like my smita?
I really love your meat.
It's like a food gas in my mouth.
That smells good. New recipe?
No, it's our competition. Change your uniforms and go spy.
Hi, welcome to Taco Gondo.
You have any lingua?
I think Taco Dollar just declared war.
I like war.
In this environment, you have to crush the competition. And our competition is right across the street. Chemical warfare, my amigos.
We're gonna need weapons. Say hello to my little friend.
Hello. What?
We're gonna smoke that mother out. That rat's got munchies, man.
Die, rat!
Were those gunshots?
No.
The health inspector is here. Old school, keep him entertained. Mac, you catch that damn rat.
Did he say rat?
Come on, let's go.
Number 34, your order's ready? What's up, Bessie? I wrote my phone number on the bottom of that teddy bear's ass.
Once again, go ahead and go see Lou Jimenez in the taco shop. Funny movie. Hey, so he's really a funny guy. I mean, let's put ufology aside and all the issues with that. He definitely has things going on in acting, and I support it. Go and laugh. It's on Freebie. You can go ahead and check it out. And anything else that you may have come down the line. Also, you're doing the gaming channel with your, what is it, Extinguisher 986?
Yeah. So we've got our Twitch channel, which is the Extinguisher 986, which was a character that was born out of another streamer's live event that he did. So I was paid to go do this gig for him, and it turned out to be this really awesome live show. Where a bunch of people love the character, so I figured I'd take the character and make a Twitch show around it.
Okay. And then also, obviously, Lou Reviews, where you're reviewing The Last of Us, which I saw you review on that. It's actually a really good show. You guys should watch that too. Yeah. And then go check out the review over at Lou's Review.
Yeah. Yep. Check us out on Lou Reviews, and yeah, man, I appreciate the time, appreciate the conversation, and
it's all good, Lou. And we're gonna definitely continue talking. We'll talk offline and things like that. But I really, like I say, I saw where you were when I first found out who Lou was, and I know some things happened, and I know things got crazy. I know it's put you in a place where you feel a certain way about a lot of things. And I hope that part of you can resolve and heal itself. And I'm a good person to talk to. So, we're on Twitter. You could even call me. But yeah, I really respect what you've done for this movement. I'm new to this. And I respect your work and everything that you're doing right now. Oh, I can't hear you.
Nope. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say, outside of this conversation, my life's great. Like, I've moved on from this. It's only when people want to talk to me about it that all of these feelings start coming up again, just because it's still
something
when you get burned by people, the last thing you want to do is talk about them or promote them on any level. And so yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are ever in the LA area, hit me up. I'd love to have you come to the show.
Definitely. No, I'm always in the LA area, so I will be doing that. So what I'll do right now is we just hit 3. So I'll let me put you in the back. I'm gonna close the show out and then I'll talk to you in the second there.
All right.
All right, Luke. Thanks for coming to the Social
sweat.
Dig. Thanks.
Yeah,
One
it's
moment.
great to be here.
All right, everybody. Lou Jimenez in the building. You've heard him speak about things before, so you know he's going to be passionate about this subject. But what putting that aside, the guy is a great comedic actor. The movie Taco Shop, go promote it, go see it. It is a good movie for sure. Outside of that, I definitely thank everybody who came by today. Let me go ahead and go. I know for sure it was Angela G and UFO Blueprint. And I couldn't really get to a lot of the comments due to the conversation. Magneticus Attractus, obviously, as well. So with that being said, hey, great episode. I'm not complaining. Thanks for coming to the Social Dig. You guys enjoy the rest of your day and take care.